Chapter 25-25. Listening to you is better than studying for 10 years. Slow Dragon Whales had a look of worship and said, "I was wrong, Master Meng Lu. I didn't expect you to have such a high level of thought. I'm sorry for my previous ignorance. I actually thought you were trash and hopeless. You only know how to play games all day, skip classes every day, and don't do homework. You're a negative example. Even the teachers want us to see you as a disgrace. But today, I didn't expect me to be the hopeless one. I greatly underestimated Master Meng Lu's thinking and cultivation, and I was judging dragons through colored glasses. I really had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Everyone has wronged you." It addressed Tan Meng Lu as a master. "You're too kind. It's fine. Dragons are helpless after all. It's a good thing to learn from one's mistakes. A prodigal who repents is more valuable than gold." Tan Meng Lu stood with her hands behind her back, looking magnanimous. She did not care about how others looked down on her and the insults from those who did not know the truth. After all, a wise person was always alone and not understood by others. As the saying went, the amount of mockery and gossip she received back then was the same amount of flowers and praises she received today. "Master Meng Lu, is it wrong for us to study hard? We're so serious, so hardworking, going to class on time every day, and getting excellent grades in every exam. Is this the wrong path? Should I follow you to play games with you?" A dragon whelp asked. "No, it's not wrong. Actually, you're right, I'm right, everyone is right." Tan Meng Lu stood with her hands behind her back. "There are 3,000 paths in the universe, and the end of each path is the same. This is the so-called different paths lead to the same destination. How can you say that I'm right and you're wrong? Is it really that important to be right and wrong?" As expected of Master Meng Lu, her words are so philosophical and profound. The dragon whelps were all impressed. Even Fate Dragon Betty was a little stunned. She fell into deep thought and began to doubt herself. "Master Meng Lu, Grandpa Green Cow plans to modify this world and build many grand palaces. The place we used to live in is going to be demolished, so we're getting some compensation." Gluttonous Austin asked, "But I don't know how to spend such a large sum of money. Should we buy a house near the city center or use it for something else?" What house? Think about it carefully. Isn't buying a house the same as renting a house the same as living in it? In the future, houses will be worthless, even less valuable than garlic. Tan Meng Lu waved her hand. "Really? Houses will be worth less than garlic in the future?" The group of dragon whelps was stunned. "Of course. Think about it seriously. This world is so big. You can develop it casually and it will be a huge piece of land. It will be desolate and uninhabited. In the future, there will be more houses than people, you know?" Tan Meng Lu said in disdain. "So instead of buying a house, why don't you spend money to play games? What's a mere house? Can it make you happy? Only by spending money to play games can you become stronger." "Master Meng Lu, I understand. It seems like I shouldn't buy a house. It's better to rent one. I'll play games with you in the future." The group of dragon whelps were convinced. You are worth teaching." Tan Meng Lu was very satisfied. She expressed that she had gained another group of believers. Instead of playing games or spending money, he actually wanted to buy a house. What a joke. What was a house? Was it edible? Are you serious? Xiao Jin, do you think Master Meng Lu is right? A young girl from the Rabbit Ear clan looked at Xiao Jin and asked curiously. I'm not very sure, but I have a way that satisfies both sides. Why don't we buy 100 houses first and then spend a few $100 million to play games?" Goldie blinked and gave him a solution. Hearing this, the young girl's mouth twitched. She was speechless. It seemed like they had asked the wrong person. They should not have asked the super tycoon Xiao Jin this question. They were just asking for trouble. "Everyone, don't listen to this guy. What cultivation is he talking about by playing games? It's pure nonsense. Also, don't sell houses to spend money to play games. You'll regret it for the rest of your life." Fate Dragon Betty could not stand it anymore. She immediately stopped these ridiculous actions from spreading. "Betty, what are you talking about? How can you say that about Master Meng Lu?" "That's right. Master Meng Lu is explaining the path to success to us out of goodwill. You're the only one causing trouble here. That's right. Betty, you really don't fit in with the group. Master Meng Lu is just giving us a clear path. We don't have to do this. It's up to us whether we do it or not. That's right. You still dare to say that Master Meng Lu is talking nonsense. Master Meng Lu is now an immortal Tao Tai. What about you? Or you? How can you say such things in such a loud voice? You're not even an immortal, yet you dare to question Master Meng Lu? You're too shameless. Everyone looked at Betty in disdain. They felt that Fate Dragon Betty's words were too much. Maybe she was jealous of Meng Lu's achievements, which was why she was pouring cold water on her. What? Hearing these words, Fate Dragon Betty went crazy. She was trying to persuade these bastards out of goodwill, but now they were saying that she was wrong. Was there any justice in this world? She wanted to retort, but Tan Meng Lu was now an immortal Tao Tai. She was successful. Whatever she said was right. Right now, she was nothing. Whatever she said would be wrong. Forget it, forget it. Betty was just being nice. There's no need to say that. At this moment, Tan Meng Lu waved her hand with a magnanimous look on her face. In fact, this universe is very big and can accommodate two different opinions. She has her own ideas, and we can naturally have our own ideas as well. As for which is correct, we will soon find out in the future. Of course, I don't dare to say that I'm right. But as an immortal Tao Tai, my words carry a lot of weight. As expected of Master Meng Lu. Look at her heart, look at her temper, and look at Betty's arrogant face. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to endure it. Otherwise, how could Master Meng Lu reach immortal? Her mental state must be very high. Seems like Master Meng Lu is more reliable. The group was full of admiration. Hearing these words, Fate Dragon Betty went even crazier. She wasn't convinced. Alright, don't mind these small things. I'm thinking of going to a dungeon. Let's form a team. You guys come together. Tan Meng Lu was satisfied. She could finally trick this group of laborers to farm monsters for her. Chong Xiaoqian was puzzled. Strange. She wasn't an immortal black hole bug. Shouldn't she be shining brightly? Why didn't anyone care about her? Was her king's prestige not enough? She couldn't figure it out. She sank into deep thought. Third Master. Chapter 25-26. At this moment, on the other side, Classic of Mountains and Seas World, Level 12 World. The Shangliu, Pishio, Qilin, Zhujian, Bifang, Phoenix, Xuanwu, and many other mythical beasts that Xia Ping had captured were all locked up in one of the levels. Naturally, Black Dragon Pasta and the other colossal dragons that had been captured here saw this as well. In reality, the number of mythical beasts that had been captured over the past few days was simply uncountable. They were already getting a little numb. Holy fuck! Just where in the world did this human capture so many mythical beasts? Don't tell me that there aren't any saints around to deal with the disappearance of so many mythical beasts? When a Middle Ancient dragon that had been captured caught sight of this, he was absolutely dumbfounded. He had not expected that this human, Xia Ping, would be able to capture so many mythical beasts over the past few days. And they weren't just ordinary mythical beasts either. They were all at least of sempiternal state. Near Ancient state was considered normal, and Middle Ancient state was considered elite. Recently, he had even captured immemorial Ancient state mythical beasts. Something as such had them scared out of their wits. After all, those were immemorial Ancient state mythical beasts. Even among the various races, they could be considered as the elites of the elites. They were existences that could turn into elders with authority over a region. But now that this lad had captured dozens of immemorial Ancient state mythical beasts, they could not imagine how infuriated the elders outside would be if they were to find out about this. There's no need to ask. There's definitely no saints around. Otherwise, this human wouldn't be so brazen. That's right. If he had truly angered an invincible saint, no matter how many lives this human has, it wouldn't be enough. That's right. I reckon that this human must have used some sort of special method to cover up this matter so easily even after capturing so many mythical beasts. Who knows, even the elders within the race might not know that we've gone missing. Many of the mythical beasts discussed fervently, trying to guess the ins and outs of this matter. Hue, you guys might have forgotten about this. Don't tell me that you guys don't feel it. This world seems to have gotten even stronger. Black Dragon Pasta laughed coldly. If we were to say that the immemorial saints could still struggle in this world in the past, they wouldn't be able to escape even if an invincible saint were to be captured here. It gives me the feeling that although this world isn't as powerful as the Dragon Realm, it has traces of the Dragon Realm's embryonic form and contains traces of the Immortal Realm's characteristics. Clearly, this world has become more and more powerful. It was one of the first batch of dragons to be imprisoned, so it had the deepest impression of the changes in the world of the classic of mountains and seas during this period of time. It also made it shudder with fear and astonishment at the speed of the world's changes. If it continued to evolve like this, it might really be comparable to the super dragon realm formed by their ancestral dragons' bodies. That's not all. Previously, that human was only a near ancient sage. However, he has now become a middle ancient sage and comprehended the laws of time. Isn't the speed of his breakthrough way too fast? It's simply unbelievable. A middle ancient dragon said in a deep voice. Every time it saw the human Xia Ping, it would feel apprehensive. It felt that the speed of his advancement was too fast. It should be known that if the dragon race wanted to break through, they would need at least tens of millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. Moreover, that was relatively fast. If they took a little longer, they would not be able to break through in their lifetime and would always be stuck at this bottleneck. However, this human was different. He was simply beyond their imagination. They felt that their chances of escaping from this dimension were getting slimmer and slimmer. Look, these guys are waking up quickly. A near-ancient dragon pointed at the divine beasts that had been captured. Whoosh! Immediately, the Shangliu, Taotai, Pishio, Qilin, Xuanni, Zhujian, Bifang, Phoenix, Xuanwu, and other divine beasts seemed to have regained consciousness and opened their eyes in confusion. What's going on? Where is this place? Wasn't I still in the eternal light realm just now? That's right. We were just fighting for the primordial pool of creation. How did we end up here in the blink of an eye? Immediately, these divine beasts woke up. They quickly realized that they were not in the eternal light realm, but in another extremely unfamiliar world. Moreover, there was a group of dragons staring at them. They immediately felt a sense of foreboding, as if something terrible had happened. What are you looking at? You four-legged worms, how dare you look at me? Do you want to die? Don't you know that I'm an ancient Shangliu? An ancient Shangliu immediately became fierce. It felt as if these dragons were looking at it with a very mocking gaze, and it was immediately filled with anger. They were ancient saints who had comprehended the laws of creation, after all, and yet they dared to look down on it like this. This was ridiculous. But soon, it realized something shocking. What's going on? My magic power, my power, how did they all disappear? Have I lost all my powers? How is this possible? The ancient Shangliu was stunned. It had never thought that something like this would happen to it, that it would lose all its powers completely one day. It could be said that this was more frightening than anything else. That's right. What's going on? My powers have disappeared as well? Damn it! Who the hell did this to us? What's going on? The Taotai, Pishio, Qilin, Xuanni, Zhujian, Bifang, and other divine beasts were all stunned, because they had never experienced something like this before. In fact, they had never even heard of it. This was especially so for some of the ancient saints. They had comprehended the laws of creation, and their powers were unprecedentedly strong. They were like gods, high and mighty. How could they accept the feeling of losing all their powers? Did you four-legged worms do something to us? These divine beasts could not help but stare at the surrounding colossal dragons. Do you know what you are doing? Doing this will bring trouble to the dragon race? If today's matter is exposed, no matter how strong the dragon race is, they will not be able to withstand the rage of so many races. Are you trying to bring a calamity to the dragon race? They put on a fierce front and threatened. Again? Can you change a few of these lines? I've long been sick of hearing them. Little ones, beat them up for an hour first, then tell them about the rules here. The black dragon Pastita smiled savagely. No problem, boss. Some of the colossal dragons smiled savagely and clenched their fists. What they loved to do the most was to teach newcomers a lesson, because it would remind them of the time when they had just arrived, when they had been beaten up by the black dragon Pastita and the others. Now they finally had the chance to take revenge. Wait, you bastards. What are you trying to do? Don't be rash. I am an ancient saint. Do you know that I am an ancient saint? The group of divine beasts could not help but cry out in fear. Hee, we are beating up ancient saints. The group of colossal dragons pounced forward and beat them up for an hour. They called this beating a baptism, or it could also be called a meeting for newcomers. Third sect leader. Chapter 25-27. A few days later, Xia Ping consolidated his cultivation base at the Middle Ancient Realm and thoroughly integrated the magic power and divine sense power in his body that had skyrocketed during this period of time before he finally came out of seclusion. Menglu and Xiaoqian, those two lazy girls, have actually advanced to the immortal realm? He quickly received news that the two internet-addicted girls had advanced to the immortal realm. Although he also knew that with their talent, it was only a matter of time before they advanced to the immortal realm, he didn't expect it to be so fast. Come to think of it, it was also because of the continuous evolution of the classic of mountains and seas and the huge amount of creation chi emitted by the innate creation pool, which had also brought them great benefits. Otherwise, with their characters, who knew when they would have advanced to the immortal realm? I wonder how the Eternal Light Realm is doing now. It had been some time since Xia Ping had snatched the innate creation pool. It seemed that the immemorial sages of the major races had also started fighting, and it was simply a fierce battle. However, he chose to go into seclusion in a certain place to temporarily avoid these disputes. Xia Ping, this matter seems to be over. Upon hearing Xia Ping's question, Corinne immediately answered. During this period of time, Corinne had also often used the invisible palace to explore the surroundings, so he was very clear about what had happened during this period of time. It's over. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. That's right. Corinne nodded. In the beginning, these immemorial sages fought with all their might, and dozens of them were seriously injured. It was like the heavens were falling and the earth was cracking, and planets were shattering. However, when these immemorial sages were about to fight to the death, the invincible sages behind the Dragon Clan and the other Divine Beast clans personally took action and stopped the war from continuing. If it wasn't for the invincible sages personally stopping it, I'm afraid that many immemorial sages would have been killed or injured in this battle. It was simply an epic war. He was very emotional. Even in the immemorial era, it was very rare for so many immemorial sages to fight each other, let alone to fight with all their might and fight to the death. This was also an eye-opener for him. However, there is a problem now. It seems that the Eternal Light Realm is showing signs of moving again, as if it is about to leave this space and come out of its slumber in the depths of the dimension. Corinne suddenly thought of something and said, "What do you mean? The Eternal Light Realm is moving?" Xia Ping frowned. That's right. The Eternal Light Realm itself seems to be enveloped by a mysterious power and has its own pattern of movement. Although this place has appeared in the real world, it will only stay for a short period of time. Corinne said in a deep voice, but the time is almost up. It seems that it will continue to sail into the depths of the dimensional space and hide in the deepest part of the universe. It may even sail to the dark forbidden area. If such a thing happens, I'm afraid that if I continue to stay in the Eternal Light Realm, I'll leave with the Eternal Light Realm and fall into a deep slumber in an unknown dimensional void. At this point, it paused for a moment. Of course, it might not be a problem if it's just leaving with the Eternal Light Realm, but the problem is that when the Eternal Light Realm falls into the depths of the dimension, the entire Eternal Light Realm will emit a destructive forbidden power that will cleanse all living creatures in this world. Any living creature will be killed, and even the invincible saints are no exception. Without this mechanism, there would have been sages who would have stayed in the Eternal Light Realm to cultivate until the end of time. After all, this place is considered a pretty good cultivation holy land. It revealed the information it had inquired about during this time. It seems that I have to hurry up and explore the eternal light realm. Otherwise, if it moves again, I'm afraid there won't be such a good opportunity next time. Xia Ping touched his chin and fell into deep thought. Corinne said, "The problem is this. The entire eternal light realm is too big now, and it's impossible to explore every corner in a short time. Moreover, after so many sages have plundered everywhere, many treasures have been plundered by these sages, and there are not many treasures left. There are almost no treasures that can compare to the creation pool. Of course, unless someone can find the most precious planet of the eternal light realm, the origin planet. It is rumored that this planet is the residence of the gods and contains the most precious treasures of the gods. Unfortunately, this planet is hidden in the deepest part of the eternal light realm, silent and invisible. Even the invincible saints can't find it." The origin planet. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. The origin planet was indeed a planet that was difficult to find. It seemed that this planet had been sealed by the gods using a special forbidden power. No sage could detect its trace. It was equivalent to the palace of the gods. Many sages wanted to try their luck to find the origin planet, but the problem was that there was no way. This was not something that could be done by relying on luck. However, Xia Ping was different. He had the wish compass, a congenital treasure. As long as there was enough power of fate, this congenital treasure could find everything in this world. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate. If it was to find the hidden treasures of the gods, then it was worth spending a lot of power of fate. I want to know where the origin planet of the eternal light realm is. Xia Ping took out the wish compass, a congenital treasure, and immediately instilled his thoughts into it. Clatter! In an instant, the wish compass trembled continuously. A large part of the power of fate in the depths of the compass seemed to have been consumed. Obviously, it was extremely difficult to find the origin planet, and it needed to consume a lot of power. But even so, the power of fate that had been accumulated for billions of years was still enough to find the location of the origin planet. Boom! In the next second, Xia Ping's body shook. Suddenly, a flow of information gushed out from the depths of the wish compass, and a starry road map instantly appeared in his sea of consciousness. Suddenly, this starry road map pointed to the place where the real origin planet was. How is this possible? It's actually in that place? Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He found that the real origin planet was in an ordinary planet near the congenital good fortune pool. He had passed by that planet before, but he found nothing. In fact, no one knew how many sages had passed by that place, but no one had ever found anything wrong. This was also reasonable. The planet seemed to have been cast a divine prohibition technique by the gods. This divine prohibition technique seemed to be called the space division formation. It was such a divine-level formation that covered the original appearance of the planet, causing two completely different spatial worlds to appear on the planet, namely the surface world and the inner world. The real origin planet was in the inner world. Because of the divine prohibition technique, no matter how serious the damage to the surface world of the planet was, it would not affect the inner world. This was because the inner world was in another dimension, and it was not connected to each other and did not affect each other. Fu Pin Chinese. Chapter 25-28. One day later, Xia Ping left the world of the classic of mountains and seas and once again quietly came to the place where the primordial treasure, the pool of good fortune, was originally located. This time, he found that the star field had indeed been severely damaged. It seemed to have experienced the bombardment of countless ancient sages, and many planets had been blown up. It was a scene of desolation. However, because of the mysterious power of the eternal light realm, the fragments of these destroyed planets seemed to gather again over time and return to their original state. This was the mystery of the eternal light realm. No matter how badly the planet had been damaged, after a period of time, the planet would return to its original state. It seemed that every planet had immortal substances. It was as if the entire eternal light realm had eternal characteristics. But even so, many planets could not recover because the power of destruction far exceeded the recovery ability of the eternal light realm. This was the power of destruction of the universe. It was beyond imagination, and it contained the scars of the great Tao. Of course, the battle between sages could not cause fundamental damage to the eternal light realm. This is a very profound space-time law, and it contains the great Tao. The green ox also sensed this situation and said resolutely. It even felt that the entire eternal light realm was a tyrannical divine artifact, which was why it had survived for so long and why the mysterious power of laws could be constantly running in the depths of its interior. It is indeed an extremely mysterious power of laws. Xia Ping nodded. He also sensed the mysterious changes in this star field. The changes of the laws here were beyond his imagination. This was a higher-level power of laws, which belonged to the power of gods. This was far from what sages could imagine, and it was the essence of the universe that they could not touch for the time being. However, he was not in the mood to continue thinking about these things. After all, this was still too far away from him. He was only a sage from the Middle Ages, and he had not reached the peak of sages. Thinking about these things was temporarily useless. His figure flashed, and he came to the planet pointed by the compass of wishes. He saw that this planet was very ordinary, no different from an ordinary life planet. There were mountains, seas, rivers, valleys, deserts, and so on. Everything seemed extremely peaceful, full of the aura of nature, and exuded vitality. Apart from the lack of life, this was a very suitable life planet for habitation. To be honest, when he first arrived on this planet, Xia Ping did not find anything wrong. After all, there were too many similar planets in the entire eternal light realm, and it was not worth mentioning. I didn't expect the origin star to be here. Interesting. Xia Ping sighed with emotion. If he didn't have a connate artifact like the compass of wishes, he probably wouldn't be able to find the true location of the Genesis star. According to the guidance of the compass of wishes, there was only one way to enter the inner world from the surface world of this planet, and that was to find a door that led to the inner world. Other than this door, there was no other way to enter. Because the inner world and the surface world were separated by the world-dividing formation, even the power of space-time could not penetrate it. There were layers upon layers of barriers, and only one of the gates could connect the two worlds. There was no other way. Fortunately, the compass of wishes had already revealed the location of the door. It was in the deepest part of the planet's ocean, in a certain cave on a mountain at the bottom of the ocean. Only by entering the deepest part of the ocean and finding the only cave would he be able to find the entrance to the inner world. Without saying a word, Xia Ping's figure flashed, and he instantly came to the underwater mountain in the deepest part of the ocean, arriving in front of the mysterious cave. Although there was a strong ocean water pressure around, it was simply child's play for the saints, and they didn't feel anything at all. However, it was hidden in such a secret place, even if someone knew that this planet might be the Genesis star, it was almost impossible to find the entrance to the inner world. Is the Genesis star in this place? Azure Ox and Corinne also learned about the Genesis star from Xia Ping's consciousness. To be honest, they were also very curious about the residence of this god. This was a life far beyond the imagination of the saints. Even though they were old monsters who had lived for countless years, compared with the real god, they were not even babies. According to the compass of wishes, it is indeed this place. Xia Ping touched his chin. He looked at the cave in front of him, and saw that at the end of the cave, there was a bronze door, and the door frame was engraved with many ancient and mysterious inscriptions. The lines concealed their temperament, as if they contained an unfathomable aura of the Great Way Law, engraved in the depths of the void. If he didn't have the eyes of the golden crow of hell, which could see through the illusion, he would probably think that the pattern on the bronze door frame was just an ordinary pattern, without any power. By the way, how do I enter the inner world? Is it possible to push the door and enter? Xia Ping approached the ancient bronze door and fell into thought. Although he came to the door of the inner world, the bronze door was closed, and he didn't know how to enter. At this time, he stretched out his hand and gently placed it on the bronze door. Boom! Suddenly, the whole bronze door trembled slightly, as if it had completed some order. All the lines of the void law on the door frame lit up, blooming infinite light, penetrating the void. With a click, the bronze door suddenly turned into a door of light. The door opened, revealing a deep space channel, which led to an unknown place. No, I can't take risks easily. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He originally wanted to go in with his real body, but when he approached the door, he stopped. After all, this door led to the real Genesis star, the place where the gods once lived. It was unknown how dangerous it was, and maybe even the invincible saints would fall. This place naturally contained great opportunities, but it may also contain great dangers. In short, it was a place where opportunities and risks coexisted. Many saints were not cautious, and perhaps before they could obtain the treasures, they would be destroyed by the dangers and die without a complete corpse. Fortunately, he had cultivated a few clones, which could be used for exploration. Even if his clones went in and were destroyed by the dangers inside, he would only lose a clone. If his real body went in and died, he would really die. I'll let my clone go in and see what the situation inside is like. Xia Ping immediately made a decision. Immediately, his golden crow of hell clone left Xia Ping's body and entered the bronze gate without a word. Meanwhile, Xia Ping's main body was sitting at the entrance, guarding the bronze gate. Fu Pin Chinese. Chapter 25-29. Xia Ping's doppelganger stepped through the bronze gate and suddenly felt a change in time and space. He found himself in another world. Fortunately, the two worlds did not separate the connection between the doppelganger and the main body. The main body could still sense the specific situation of this world through the doppelganger. Is this the origin star? Xia Ping stood where he was. He found that there was also a simple bronze gate next to him, but in front of him was an endless plain. This should have been a beautiful world, but now it had all collapsed. All the palaces, mountains, rivers, and so on were destroyed, turning into ruins. Looking ahead, there was a huge, endless plain. There were broken tiles everywhere, and there were terrifying void cracks that extended to the end of the sky. Even the entire world was dark and filled with a deathly stillness. Will there be treasures in this place? Xia Ping did not expect the real origin star to look like this. He thought that the residence of the gods should be very luxurious, with treasures everywhere, glorious, sacred, and inviolable. But now, it had become a ruin, like a world after the end of the world. Wait, time seems to have stopped here. There was a trace of shock in his eyes because he found that the whole world of the origin star seemed to have stopped, stopping at the moment when the entire origin star was destroyed. Even the dust was trapped in the air, unable to flow. The rivers on the ground could not flow, and even the airflow could not flow in this place. There was no doubt that this world was a land of eternity. Time could not move forward or backward in this place, and it would always stop at this moment. In fact, the moment he entered the origin star, he felt that the whole world was completely locked by a space-time law power. Everything was solidified, and no power could hurt this place. This power was many times more terrifying than his space-time domain, and it was close to the mighty power of the Great Path. Xia Ping felt that even if he stayed in this world for thousands or tens of thousands of years, this place would still remain the same. Master, look, what's that in the sky? Is it a divine weapon? At this time, the green bull also sensed the place of the origin star through Xia Ping's consciousness power. It seemed to have found something that Xia Ping had not noticed before. What? That's a clock. Xia Ping looked in the direction pointed by the green ox. Suddenly, he saw a huge black and white clock, like the moon, hanging in the sky above the origin star, blooming with black and white light, penetrating every space and time of the world. The three hands of the clock had stopped moving, as if they would stay at this moment for eternity. From the black and white clock itself, he could sense the greatness of time. It was like a river of time that ran through the past and the present, controlling the dimension of time. In front of this clock, all time turned into nothingness. Could it be that time in this world has stopped completely because of this clock? If it really has such power, then it is undoubtedly a divine artifact, a true divine artifact. The green ox could not help but cry out. It was extremely excited. Although it had seen the Yao Ceiling Pagoda of the human clan before, it was the first time it was able to observe another divine artifact so unscrupulously. Moreover, the power contained in this divine artifact seemed to be completely different from that of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. It seemed to be able to control the mighty power of time and space, which was completely beyond their imagination. Even with just a glance, it could sense the greatness of this black and white clock. Incredible! Is this the pinnacle of all magic treasures? Corinne also widened his eyes and almost held his breath, lest he disturbed the spirit of this divine artifact. It seems that this divine artifact has been damaged. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He noticed that the huge black and white clock across the sky seemed to have terrible cracks on it, spreading all over the clock's body. It seemed that in the next second, this black and white clock was about to shatter and fall into pieces. Moreover, there seemed to be pieces of green mottled on the base of the clock, as if it had been corroded by a strange and tyrannical force. But even so, it could not cover the elegance of this clock. It exuded the aura of eternity, chaos, myth, greatness, and so on, and gathered the supreme power of law. It seemed to stand at the end of the river of time and space, overlooking everything. With just a glance, he felt that his soul had been frozen in time and space, and was eternally still in this space and time. It has indeed been damaged. It may be that the great shattering of the universe caused this divine artifact to show signs of damage. It is said that even the divine artifact of the human clan, the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, was in a damaged state at the beginning, but after billions of years of repair, the Yao Ceiling Pagoda finally recovered a part of its power, which is why we see the Yao Ceiling Pagoda now. Corinne said that he had also found some information about the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. In fact, it was not only the divine artifacts of the human clan. The divine artifacts of other peak races were also in a more or less damaged state, unable to exert their peak power. We're rich. If we can get this divine artifact, won't we be rich? The green ox felt that he was drooling. If he could get his hands on a divine artifact, the benefits he would get were simply unimaginable. After all, only the peak races were qualified to get their hands on a divine artifact. How could ordinary saints have such qualifications? It was almost impossible for even an invincible saint to get a divine artifact. This was a true treasure of the clan. As long as they had a divine artifact in their hands, they could eternally suppress the luck of the peak races and face all difficulties. You're dreaming. At first glance, I can tell that this divine artifact is no small matter. How could it be so easy to get? Corinne said disdainfully. Not to mention mastering this extremely terrifying divine artifact, even getting close to it would probably be very difficult. In fact, in the Forbidden Dark area, many divine artifacts had been discovered by the various races, but they soon discovered that the number of divine artifacts that could be truly mastered and refined could be counted on one's fingers. Most of the divine artifacts were extremely terrifying and could not be refined or controlled. Even if an invincible saint got close to it, he would be easily suppressed by the power of the divine artifact and die a violent death. Xia Ping stood where he was, and his divine sense stretched out endlessly, spreading to the extreme, covering tens of thousands of light years. Suddenly, he sensed that there was a huge corpse lying on the ground below the black and white clock, quietly lying there. It seemed that countless years had passed. Chapter 25:30. Big. It was too big. In Xia Ping's perception, this huge body spanned thousands of light years. It was bigger than any creature he had ever seen. It was almost the size of a star field. In front of this creature, he was even smaller than a speck of dust. It was fine if it was just huge, but it also emitted a terrifying aura that seemed to be able to crush the sky. No power could get close to this huge corpse. Anyone who saw this giant corpse would feel small and insignificant, as if they couldn't resist it at all. Moreover, looking at this corpse, he felt that no power of time could leave a mark on it. Even a peerless sacred weapon could not hurt this corpse at all. Even its skin could block most attacks in the world, reaching the realm of invulnerability. Just as Xia Ping's divine sense was about to approach the giant corpse to further observe what it was, he did not expect that just as his divine sense approached, an unparalleled divine might would descend upon him. It was as if Xia Ping's actions had offended a majesty that could not be looked at directly, causing the giant corpse's own power to instinctively retaliate. Oh no! Immediately, Xia Ping's expression changed. He could not react at all because the other party's reaction speed was too fast. It was so fast that he could not even react to it. He felt as if his soul had been hit by a heavy hammer. This godlike power crushed over, directly passing through the soul of his clone and attacking his main body. At the same time, with the attack, an unbelievably huge flow of information was instilled into his sea of consciousness. It was as if his entire head was going to explode. At this moment, he seemed to see many scenes from myths. Countless gods were fighting, holding various divine weapons in their hands. They fought to the point that the sky and the earth split, the sun and the moon lost their light, and the entire universe collapsed. A terrifying disaster also swept through the entire universe. At this moment, no matter whether it was a powerful god or a weak god, they could not resist such a terrifying disaster. Many gods fell without resistance, and all their believers died without resistance. Many worlds entered a state of doomsday. That was the twilight of the gods. Boom. However, at this moment, the scene came to an abrupt end. A trace of blood could not help but seep out of the corner of Xia Ping's mouth. It seemed that the impact just now had caused a certain degree of damage to his body and soul. His head felt like it was splitting apart, as if it was about to explode. Cracks appeared all over the Golden Crow Hell clone, and dark golden blood flowed out from it. Cracks appeared all over its body, and it was in excruciating pain. This is the carcass of the mythical creature Kunpeng. This is the carcass of a god. Xia Ping's real body sat upright on the ground, his eyes shining with a terrifying light. Although he had suffered a certain degree of injury because of his recklessness just now, he had peeped into an unimaginable secret. From those memories, he had glimpsed some of the secrets of the gods. Without a doubt, this was the corpse of a mythical creature, Kunpeng. Is this a god? Xia Ping clenched his fists in excitement. This was because he had seen a true god. Even though it was just a corpse that had been dead for who knew how many epochs, it was still able to exude an unparalleled divine might, making it impossible for him to get close. Unbelievable! Even though it was just a glance, Xia Ping could sense how terrifying the mythical creature, Kunpeng's corpse, was. After experiencing the universe's cataclysm and endless destructive powers, its body still maintained signs of immortality. Moreover, every single cell in its body was filled with terrifying divine power. It seemed as if it could endlessly devour the universe's origin energy and regenerate itself. It contained unimaginable destructive power. Even though his divine sense had just touched it, it seemed to have been fiercely counterattacked by this corpse. It was as if mortals could not look directly at gods, or they would die without a doubt. Fortunately, his soul force was strong enough. Otherwise, if he had looked directly at it just now, his brain would have exploded from the terrifying law information transmitted by the true body of a god. Mortals were unable to withstand the majesty of a true deity. A single glance would cause them to go completely insane. This was an incomprehensible creature. No, this is no longer a mortal's body, but a mythical body constructed from the great Tao laws. Xia Ping clenched his fists. He could sense how terrifying the mythical creature, Kunpeng's corpse, was. Every drop of blood and every cell seemed to be a manifestation of the laws themselves. They went from illusion to reality, as though they had twisted the boundaries between reality and illusion. This was a great creature that could only be born in fantasy. It was no wonder that the bloodline of a divine beast had a strong corrosive nature. Just by standing beside a divine beast, ordinary creatures would not be able to withstand the corrosion of a mythical creature and would be forcefully transformed into a mythical creature's kin. Unless one was a god or had the bloodline of another god in their body, they would be able to resist the corrosion of the mythical creature's bloodline. Otherwise, it would be impossible to resist. Only the gods could resist the gods. Gods are very strong, so strong that they are impossible to resist. At that moment, Xia Ping finally knew why many invincible saints in the universe wanted to become gods. It was because the gap between gods and saints was probably even greater than the gap between saints and mortals. Although invincible saints could also be called demigods in the previous universe era and could barely resist the corrosion of a god's bloodline, the difference was still like heaven and earth. A fake was ultimately a fake. It was impossible to compare to the real thing. Moreover, this mythical creature, Kunpeng's corpse, had such might even after being dead for countless years. If it was still alive, it was unknown how terrifying its strength would be. Of course, he felt that even if this Kunpeng was a god, it would probably be a relatively powerful god. Otherwise, it would definitely not be able to maintain such terrifying strength even after being dead. But even so, such powerful gods still died. They were like ants, falling in batches in this universe. Not a single one of them could resist, and all of them died. What kind of disaster caused the fall of so many gods and gave birth to the twilight of the gods? Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He felt that compared to such a cosmic disaster, the catastrophe of the twilight of the gods, a mere abyss demon invasion was nothing. It was just an appetizer. After all, in the era of the gods, even if the abyss was extremely powerful, it could not shake the universe ruled by the gods. Moreover, he clearly sensed that there seemed to be a huge bloody hole in the center of the mythical creature, Kunpeng's corpse. It was as if it had been instantly killed by the enemy without any resistance. With just a single blow, it had destroyed all the vitality of the mythical creature, Kunpeng, making it unable to escape. Such power made one's heart tremble. Chapter 25-31. However, Xia Ping soon stopped thinking about the reason for the birth of the twilight of the gods. Now he was just a small shrimp. Even if he knew the truth, there was nothing he could do. It had little to do with him. The most important thing for him now was to enhance his strength. At least he had to be promoted to the demigod realm in order to be qualified to explore the reason for the destruction of the previous universe era. Is there any way to get that artifact? To be honest, Xia Ping coveted the black and white clock in the sky. If he could get this artifact, it would definitely give him endless benefits. It was estimated that there was only one artifact of value in the entire origin star. The others were basically in a state of destruction. System, is there any way to refine this artifact? Xia Ping's heart moved and immediately asked the system. This is an ownerless artifact. It can be refined, but it requires 1,000 hatred crystals. The system replied. What? Hearing this, the corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched. He didn't know how much time he had spent, but now he had accumulated 1,530 hatred crystals. Now he actually needed to spend 1,000 hatred crystals, which was equivalent to 100 billion hatred points. But he thought about it carefully. If he could get this artifact, spending 100 billion hatred points was worth it. After all, the hatred points could be earned again. But this artifact was the only one in the universe. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no such shop. Host, I need to warn you about one thing. The system said, if you refine this artifact, the eternal clock, then the entire origin star will collapse, and even the eternal light realm will collapse, and this god's corpse will instantly awaken, causing a huge threat. At that time, the host may encounter unpredictable danger, so you need to think twice. What do you mean? Isn't this god's corpse already dead? How can it still move? Xia Ping was surprised. Because this artifact, the eternal clock, activated the power of time stop, stopping the entire origin star at the moment of the great destruction of the universe. At that time, this god's corpse had just died. The system said, if the eternal clock is allowed to lift the time stop, then this god's corpse will have an instinctive reaction and burst out with immeasurable destructive power. Even a demigod would be doomed under such power. I see. Xia Ping understood the system's reminder. Clearly, the power contained in this immortal's corpse was unimaginable. Even if it was just a struggle before its death, it could wipe out a group of mortals. Even saints would not be able to withstand it, and they would either die or be injured. The reason why he could enter the origin star so easily without any harm was that the eternal clock had the ability to stop time and stop everything. If the eternal clock dispelled this power, then the entire eternal light realm would collapse. In fact, according to the system's explanation, the entire eternal light realm was actually enveloped by the power of the eternal clock. It was the true core of the eternal light realm. The reason why the destroyed planets and buildings were restored after a few days without any damage was because of this. It was all because of the eternal clock. It instinctively cast the time reversal ability, and any building would be reversed to a safe time and space. Therefore, no matter what kind of damage the eternal light realm caused, as long as the eternal clock was here, it would be restored to its original state the next morning. As expected of a divine artifact. It's too powerful. Hearing this ability, Xia Ping coveted this divine artifact even more. Such a magic treasure was definitely a top divine artifact. It actually had the power to reverse time and space. It was simply incredible. If it had been at its peak, it was estimated that the entire eternal light realm would not have been destroyed. It was no wonder that this world was not buried in the forbidden dark zone, but chose to drift in other regions of the universe. It was still able to prevent the eternal light realm from being destroyed in the previous era of the universe. It was probably because of this divine artifact, the eternal clock, that they were able to do this. But it's not that easy to get this divine artifact. Xia Ping touched his chin and fell into deep thought. If it was just refining this divine artifact, it should not be a problem with the system's power. The problem was if he refined the eternal clock and removed the time-freezing ability of the origin star. He was afraid that the entire eternal light realm would collapse in an instant, and the immortal's corpse would even chase after him. After all, if he guessed correctly, this divine artifact might be the life treasure of this god. If he took it away, wouldn't he be chased by the entire universe? Therefore, he had to think of a way to get the best of both worlds. After obtaining the divine artifact, the eternal clock, he would be able to escape safely. Otherwise, he might be killed before he could get the treasure. At this time, on the other side, the entire eternal light realm seemed to have started moving again, slowly moving into the depths of the dimension. It seemed that it would not be long before it would enter the depths of space-time again, and it might not appear again even after billions of epochs. All the sages who entered the eternal light realm sensed this. Damn it, how can time pass so quickly? It has only been such a long time, and the eternal light realm is moving again. I had wanted to continue exploring the eternal light realm and find more treasures. A sage of the Qilin clan lamented. You're lucky, at least you got some treasures. I'm miserable. I've been here for so long, and I haven't even gotten a fart. I'm going back empty-handed. Another sage said helplessly. It's all the fault of those four-legged worms of the dragon race. They've been causing trouble everywhere, and even the Khanate creation pool might have been taken by the dragon race. The dragon race has reaped all the benefits this time. A sage of the Phoenix clan gritted his teeth. The dragon race is powerful to begin with. If they get their hands on the Khanate creation pool, wouldn't they be like tigers that have grown wings? If their entire race grows rapidly, which other race would be able to stand against the dragon race? A sage had a solemn expression. He knew how powerful the Khanate creation pool was. Although it was only an auxiliary treasure, it could greatly increase the potential and strength of an entire race. If the dragon race were to get their hands on the Khanate creation pool, who knew how many sages of the dragon race would be nurtured over billions of years? By then, the divine beast races would probably be suppressed by the dragon race, and they would have no choice but to bow down to them. I've already informed the old ancestor about this matter. I've already joined forces with the other races to put pressure on the dragon clan. We definitely can't let the dragon clan get all the benefits. Otherwise, will there still be any chance for the other races to survive in the future? Indeed. No matter what, the Khanate creation pool cannot be monopolized by the dragon race. With so many races pressuring them, no matter how powerful the dragon race is, they won't be able to withstand it. That's right. If the dragon race doesn't want to be wiped out, they know what to do. The sages discussed fervently, their eyes glinting with ferocity. The Third Sect Master. Chapter 25-32. At this moment, in the depths of the void. Terrifying figures exuding monstrous demonic aura appeared in this place. There were hundreds of them, and each of them was filled with great power that shook the void. It was as if they were a world themselves. If anyone saw these figures, they would know that they were demon kings from the abyss world. They stood at the top of all the demons in the abyss and were comparable to invincible realm saints. These stupid divine beasts have fallen for it. It's just a world left behind by the gods, but they're fighting each other so fiercely that there are heavy casualties. A demon king laughed. It was constantly paying attention to the situation in the eternal light realm. It's a pity that the invincible saints didn't make a move. If they fought each other and a few of them died, it would be fun, another demon king said regretfully. The reason why they had set up such a trap was that the invincible saints of these races would fight to the death. It would be best if both sides suffered heavy casualties so that they could reap the benefits. Unfortunately, things didn't go as smoothly as they had imagined. It could only be said that the plan was only half completed. There's no other way. These invincible saints aren't stupid. Unless there's a treasure that they have no choice but to fight for, they won't make a move. It's a pity that such a top treasure hasn't appeared in the eternal light realm. It seems that we still need to take action personally to bury all these antiques from the previous universe era in this era. A demon king said lightly. It felt that this effect was enough. Although they hoped that these saints would fight each other and both sides would suffer heavy casualties, they couldn't pin their hopes on something illusory. In fact, their biggest plan was to lure these saints out of their lairs. Only then would it be convenient for them to ambush and kill these saints. After all, if these divine beasts stayed in their lairs, they would have all kinds of trump cards in their lairs. Even if they were abyss demons, they would probably be in trouble. But it was different in the outside world. They couldn't use the various means left behind in their lairs. But is this plan foolproof? If there's any oversight, the plan we've prepared for billions of years will probably be destroyed today. A demon king said. In order to carry out this plan, these demon kings, who had paid a huge price to quietly break free from the abyss seal, gathered together. It could be said that they were the most powerful demon force in the world. If they didn't succeed, the whereabouts of these demon kings would be completely exposed, and the other races in the universe would know that the abyss demons had already come to the universe. This way, they would become the target of everyone and be hunted down by the undefeatable saints of all races. Even the Chaos Abyss would not be able to help them. They would be forced into an extremely passive state. It could be said that this plan had to be foolproof. There could not be any mistakes. This was related to the future plans of the Chaos Abyss race. Whoever dared to obstruct or destroy this plan had to die. Don't worry. Since these sages have come to the eternal light realm, it means that they've been completely fooled. They can't escape at all. A demon king laughed. This place has already been set up with the strongest formation of our Chaos Abyss race, the Great Heavenly Demon Formation. Once the formation is activated, space-time within a radius of billions of light-years will be sealed. When that time comes, all means of communication will be cut off. They won't be able to contact the outside world and get help. They won't even be able to escape from the Great Heavenly Demon Formation. They'll definitely die this time. No one can save them. The Great Heavenly Demon Formation was one of the strongest formations in the Abyss world. Once it was set up successfully, it could immediately summon the boundless Abyss Blood Sea, which would transform into great heavenly demon gods. In the primordial era, this formation had killed countless undefeatable saints. It was as if all the saints in the world would die, the world would cry, and the sun and moon would lose their light. This made the expressions of all the saints in the world change. Of course, it would not be easy to successfully set up this formation. The amount of resources required was simply immeasurable and had reached an astronomical level. Even though they were all demon kings, almost all of their wealth had been emptied by this great heavenly demon formation. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the power of the great heavenly demon formation was. It could definitely kill all enemies in the world. It could be said to be one of the strongest trump cards of the abyss demons. That's right. That's true. Once the great heavenly demon formation is activated, no matter how arrogant these undefeatable saints are, they won't be able to escape or ask for help. They'll definitely die. There are a total of 48 undefeatable saints trapped in this place this time. Unfortunately, only a portion of them have come. It's not all of them. If all of them come, I'm afraid we'll be the ones escaping. No matter how powerful the great heavenly demon formation is, it's impossible to kill all these undefeatable saints. It's better not to be too greedy. Indeed, it's enough to kill these undefeatable saints. This way, some of the saints in the modern world will die, and the advantage of our abyss world will be further expanded. The war in the primordial era taught us a great lesson. We can't underestimate the power of the modern world. We always thought that we could do it in one go and completely sweep everything away, but we still underestimated the power of the modern world. Instead, they kept resisting and accumulated enough power to contend against our abyss. In the end, our abyss was defeated. That's right, so it's different this time. We no longer underestimate these saints in the modern world. Step by step, it's like playing chess, weakening the power of the modern world step by step. When they discover our plot, it'll be too late. By then, all the power of our abyss will come out in full force, and the modern universe will definitely be swept away by our abyss. Many demon kings were filled with murderous intent, and their eyes revealed traces of light. However, we have to be careful. The #1 expert of the Dragon Clan, Samuel, is also here. A demon king said vigilantly, "That old fart? He actually survived from the previous universe era until today. He's indeed a big problem. That old fart killed many of our demon kings in the primordial era. The abyss hates him to the bone. This time, that old fart won't be able to escape. We can also take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of this old fart. This way, the saints in the modern world will lose a major combat power." That's right. Maybe this is also a great opportunity. The heavens are helping our abyss. As long as we can get rid of this old fart, the Dragon Clan will suffer heavy losses. Maybe the saints of the Dragon Clan will not be a threat anymore. When do we make our move? When these saints leave the Eternal Light Realm and plan to return, we'll suddenly make a move and catch them off guard. We'll eliminate this group of trash in an instant. Many demon kings were filled with murderous intent. Third sect leader. Chapter 25-33. Another few days passed. At this time, the eternal light boundary seemed to be unable to hold on any longer. It slowly advanced towards the depths of the dimension. The entire eternal light boundary seemed to be filled with one restrictive array formation after another, emitting a heart-palpitating aura that was filled with destructive power. The sages of the major races knew that they could no longer stay in the eternal light realm. Otherwise, they would definitely die. Therefore, these sages left the eternal light realm one after another. They had no choice but to leave this place. Damn it. I didn't expect the eternal light realm to leave this place so soon. I don't know when it will appear again. What a pity. A sage said through gritted teeth, feeling very helpless. It had thought that entering the eternal light realm this time would be a great opportunity. It did not expect to find itself so unlucky after entering. It did not obtain any treasures. Now, it was very upset, but there was nothing it could do. The Dragon Clan has gained the most this time. They have the most people and obtained the most treasures. They even took away the Khanate magic treasure, the pool of creation. Aren't they the biggest winners? A sage of the Phoenix clan said sinisterly, fanning the flames. As soon as this was said, it immediately aroused the anger and dissatisfaction of the sages of the other races. Indeed, the Dragon Clan is the biggest winner this time. We can't let those dragons monopolize all the treasures. At the very least, they must hand over the Khanate magic treasure, the pool of creation. That's right. A treasure like the pool of creation should be shared by all the races. The Dragon Clan cannot monopolize it. The sages looked at each other and their divine consciousnesses intertwined. They clearly reached a consensus very quickly. After all, they all had a common enemy and a common interest. Whoosh, in an instant, the sages of the major races quickly gathered and surrounded the sages of the Dragon Clan. They were full of murderous intent. What is it? What is it? What are you bunch of bastards trying to do? Why are you surrounding our dragon clan? Could it be that you want to start a war with our dragon clan? A dragon clan elder immediately sensed that something was amiss. Looking at the situation, this group of sages seemed to be planning to gang up on the dragon clan. They all felt that something was wrong. It seemed that the dragon clan's actions had angered them. One had to know that there was actually a considerable amount of conflict between these mythological beast clans. However, this time, they actually chose to put aside their conflicts for the sake of the dragon clan. They abandoned their prejudices and united as one. One could imagine how loathsome the dragon clan was. Ha! What are you talking about us? This time, our various races will need to demand an explanation from your dragon clan. After entering the cosmic light realm, life and death are determined by fate, and wealth and honor are determined by the heavens. This is the rule set by the various races, so we won't say it. However, that natural fortune pool is too precious, and cannot be kept by your dragon clan. You must hand it over and let the other clans manage and use it together. That's right. You can refuse, but you'll be offending all of us. Let's have a fight. What do you dragon clan think? Can you fight against all of us? The sages of the various races surrounded them with murderous intent. It was obvious that they were planning to act shamelessly and force the dragon race to hand over the pool of good fortune. They could give up on the other treasures and sacred herbs, but the creation pool could not fall into the hands of the dragon clan. This was the fundamental problem. The sages of the dragon clan originally wanted to be arrogant, but they saw the sages of the various races surrounding them. Their numbers were at least 10 times that of the dragon clan, and even the invincible sages did not have the upper hand. How were they supposed to fight? They immediately backed down. They could not really start a fight, otherwise, the dragon clan would suffer heavy losses today. Immediately, the sages of the dragon clan could not help but look at the temple master of the dragon god shrine, Samuel. Only the temple master of the dragon god shrine could make a decision on such an important matter. The creation pool of good fortune is too important. This is the bottom line of the various races, and the dragon clan cannot monopolize it. Whoever obtains the creation pool can choose to hand it over. The temple master of the dragon god shrine, Samuel, made a decision. Of course, he could forcefully decide not to hand over the creation pool, but the problem was that doing so would attract the attention of the various godly beast clans and the sages, which would bring great danger to the dragon clan. Therefore, he was very clear about the bottom line of the various races. Moreover, handing over the creation pool did not mean that the dragon clan would lose the treasure. At most, it would be shared among the various races, and as the ones who obtained the creation pool, the dragon clan would naturally get the largest share, which was believed to be the bottom line of the various races. However, the crux of this matter was that the dragon clan had indeed obtained the creation pool. Temple Master, we also want to hand over the creation pool, but the problem is that we asked all the giant dragons that returned, and none of them obtained the creation pool. Even the cleverest housewife can't cook a meal without rice. A dragon clan elder said helplessly. What's going on? Didn't these sages say that our sage, Wu Wudi, snatched the creation pool and even left a message in it to provoke us? Can't you find Wu Wudi? Samuel blinked and asked curiously. That's right, we just can't find Wu Wudi. I asked everyone just now, but none of them knew where he came from. It seems like he appeared out of thin air, and he has no friends in the dragon clan. The dragon clan elder said sullenly. He also wanted to find Wu Wudi, but the problem was that he could not. He had asked all the giant dragons that returned, but none of them knew Wu Wudi, let alone found any traces of him. There's such a thing? Then there are two possibilities. One is that our dragon clan has been framed, and the other is that Wu Wudi is still in the cosmic light realm and has yet to come out. Samuel gave his explanation. Is it impossible that he died in there? A dragon asked. Samuel looked at the elder dragon with disdain. That guy dared to steal the Khanate treasure, the fortune pool, right under the noses of so many primordial dragons. He even provoked us. How could such an arrogant dragon die so easily? He felt that he had found an idiot dragon. But what do we do now? We can't possibly say that we didn't find Wu Wudi at all. Will they believe us if we say that? An elder dragon said sullenly. He guessed that if he said that, the sages of the other races would think that it was a lie. They did not want to hand over the creation pool at all, and that would incur public anger. Well, that's indeed a problem. Samuel rubbed his chin. But it doesn't matter. I'll talk to the other invincible sages. I believe they will understand our situation. He decided to persuade them in a friendly manner. The group of elder dragons was speechless. They felt that the temple master would probably fight today. Boom. But at that moment, the void within a radius of billions of light years shook. A black curtain that covered the sky instantly enveloped all the sages of the other races. It was as if this place had turned into an abyss. They could not see their fingers in front of them, and it was completely dark. Chapter 25:34. What's going on? What's going on? Why has the universe become like this? Did the dragon race go crazy and really want to fight to the death with all the god-beast races? Are those dragons so daring? A phoenix race saint was shocked. No, it's not like that. Look at this darkness screen. It's emitting the rotten energy of the abyss. Only abyss demons can use this. I'm afraid we've been completely surrounded by an abyss formation. A Chilean race saint had a serious expression. It was very sensitive to evil energy, especially the energy from the abyss. It had an instinctive disgust. This disgust came from the depths of its bloodline. It was as if the two were polar opposites. Therefore, when this formation rose, it knew it was not the dragon race. Damn it, it's the abyss formation? What's going on? Are the abyss demons planning to attack us? Those abyss demons must be crazy. Don't they see how many saints we have here? There are even 30 invincible saints. They can definitely smash the heads of those abyss demons. The saints were shocked and angry. They did not expect to be ambushed by abyss demons in the universe. This had not happened in many years. But they also knew that since the abyss demons dared to do such a thing and there were 30 invincible saints here, it proved that the abyss demons knew about this and still attacked. One could imagine that the abyss demons definitely had the confidence to kill them all at once. Otherwise, they would not dare to do such a thing. Damn it, we're in trouble now. Billions of light years of space have been sealed by this darkness screen. There's no way to escape from here. A black tortoise saint realized that they could not escape. Not only can we escape, we can't even log into the human race's universe virtual network. We can't contact the outside world at all. We can't even ask for help. Apiccio saint's expression was ugly. Although the universe virtual network was the human race's super technology, other races would occasionally choose to use it. After all, in their long lives, it was very boring to stay in other races' worlds. Therefore, they often climbed over walls and sneaked into the human race's virtual network. The human race naturally knew this, but they turned a blind eye to it. But now, this super technology of the human race, which had network signals even to the end of the universe, could not transmit any signals or messages. All of a sudden, the sages were shocked. They felt that the abyss demons were for real. This is one of the supreme formations of the abyss race. It's called the Great Heavenly Demon Formation. At this moment, Samuel, the shrine master of the dragon god shrine, spoke. His frivolous expression disappeared, and it was replaced by extreme solemnity and seriousness. A demigod aura spread out, and the void within a radius of billions of kilometers emitted heavy pressure. All the sages were in awe. It was as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. They hadn't seen the dragon god shrine master Samuel so serious for a long time. One could imagine the seriousness of this matter, and Samuel had no choice but to take it seriously. What great heavenly demon god formation? Isn't that one of the strongest formations in the abyss world? Once it's activated, it can immediately form an abyss blood fiend world and condense a heavenly devil god to kill the enemy? I've heard of the name of this array before. In the primordial era, the demon kings of the abyss world had set up such a super array. It covered billions of miles of the void and suppressed invincible saints. It's said that the invisible dragon Theodore was severely injured in such a formation, unable to escape. In the end, he returned to the dragon realm and died from his injuries. What? This kind of formation is so terrifying that it can even kill invincible saints? Of course it's terrifying. This is one of the supreme demonic formations, and it contains the power of the great Tao laws. It's invincible, but it's not easy to build such a formation. It requires a lot of resources, and even an invincible saint would go bankrupt. It looks like those abyssal demons have been planning for a long time to deal with us. That's why they prepared the great heavenly demon god formation. It's even possible that the eternal light boundary was created by them. This is probably a trap. Many sages were discussing this. They were all extremely intelligent old antiques, and they understood the truth of the matter and the reason behind it in just a few words. But it was too late now. It was completely hindsight, and it didn't help the situation at all. Therefore, their expressions were very ugly. If they didn't handle it well today, they would all die in this place, without a single one of them remaining. Bush. Right at this moment, abyssal kings walked out from the depths of the void. They were distributed around the great heavenly demon god formation, and they emitted a monstrous demonic aura that shook the void. Abyssal laws outlined the void one after another, and they pierced through time. They were like eggshells, and they sealed the void for billions of light years, forming an absolute abyssal domain. There were more than 100 abyssal kings, and they almost completely surrounded the sages of the divine beast races, leaving them with nowhere to escape. It's indeed a trick of the abyss. Seeing these abyssal kings appear, how could these sages not understand that the truth of the matter was already clear on paper? It had to be a plot and trap of the abyss. Otherwise, they wouldn't have appeared so quickly. The dragon god shrine master Samuel narrowed his eyes, but he didn't say anything. "Ha, oh foolish divine beasts, you've fallen for it this time. It's just the eternal light boundary, and you fools have fallen for it. All of you ran out of your lairs to die. Greedy creatures indeed. Kaka, foolish divine beasts, we came to this place today to avenge the humiliation and painful lesson you brought us in the primordial era. Today we'll return it to you. No, today is just the beginning. Next, we'll destroy the lairs of your major races step by step, and let you completely fall in this universe. Remnants of the previous era of the universe, this era no longer welcomes you. Let it end here. The true overlord of this universe is only the abyss." The abyssal kings laughed loudly, and they were extremely excited. After plotting for billions of years, they finally saw hope of success today. After getting rid of these foolish divine beast sages, they would sound the war horn of the abyss attacking the modern world, and they would use the blood of these divine beasts to pay tribute to the dead abyssal spirits of the abyss. From today onwards, they would gradually conquer and nibble away at the entire universe, and the modern world would become the territory of the abyss. This was also the long-cherished wish of all the abyssal demons. Chapter 25-35. It's over. It's over. We actually fell into these abyssal demons' ambush. The eternal light boundary was actually their trap. How did this happen? What should we do? This heavenly demon god array can even kill invincible sages. Can we resist it? Don't even talk about the heavenly demon god array. Do you see these abyssal demons? There are hundreds of abyssal kings who are comparable to invincible sages. Just this kind of combat power is enough to kill us all. This heavenly demon god formation isn't just to kill us. At the same time, it's also to prevent us from calling for reinforcements. These abyssal demons are really meticulous in their planning. Damn it. How long have they been planning this? Since the primeval age, have they been planning to ambush us one day? The many sages' faces were extremely grave. Their hearts sank. It could be said that at this moment, they had suddenly fallen into the greatest crisis of their lives. Ever since they became sages, they had always stayed in the lairs of various races. They rarely experienced life and death battles. This was the first time they had encountered such a narrow escape from death. To tell the truth, they were a little helpless now. As for the conflicts and disputes between the major races, at this moment of life and death, they were all insignificant. They had to unite as one to have a chance of leaving this dangerous situation alive. Otherwise, they would all die today, and all their grudges would be resolved. Boom. However, at that moment, Samuel, the Dragon God Shrine's shrine master, made a brazen move. He took a step forward, and the void within a radius of billions of light years trembled. Layers of ripples appeared in the void, causing the souls of many sages to tremble. This step was like a primordial divine elephant trampling on hell, and it was going to crush the entire universe. What? The many abyssal kings were still laughing wildly. At this moment, their pupils constricted. They had never thought that at this moment, the Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel would dare to brazenly make a move alone and face so many abyssal kings. This violent, overbearing, and supremely arrogant aura shocked them. Peerless divine ability, all-seeing fist. The Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel's thin body brazenly made a move, and he punched out. On the surface, it looked like a thin old man's trembling fist. But at this moment, all the sages had goosebumps all over their bodies. They sensed that this punch seemed to contain the power of time, space, creation, life and death, destruction, yin and yang, and all these laws were gathered in this punch. It was as if at this moment, this punch contained boundless destructive power. It was as if it wanted to completely blow up and pierce through this part of the universe. The void that spanned hundreds of millions of light years trembled. Damn it! Many of the abyssal kings felt their hair stand on end. They were the first to bear the brunt of this attack, and they could sense how terrifying this punch was. It contained the power of life and death that could annihilate everything. If they were struck by this punch, their souls would be instantly destroyed. Even their bodies and souls would be pulled into the distorted space of life and death and completely shattered, ensuring that not even a speck of dust would be left behind. They had heard of the legend of Samuel, the temple master of the Dragon God Shrine. He was known as the strongest man in the universe. He once killed an invincible realm saint with his bare hands and blew him up. At first, they thought it was an extremely ridiculous rumor. Invincible realm saints were already the strongest people in the universe. What creature could kill them? But at this moment, they understood that there were indeed more advanced laws in the universe that could kill them. It was obvious that this temple master of the Dragon God Shrine Samuel had the power to kill invincible realm saints. In fact, if it wasn't for the origin laws of this universe forcefully suppressing this temple master of the Dragon God Shrine from the previous universe and not allowing him to become a god, he would probably have become this universe's first god. Dutian Demon God Array, activate. Many of the abyssal kings roared. They were invincible realm saints after all, and they would not be powerless to resist. In an instant, they activated this Dutian Demon God Array. Rumbled in an instant, the endless abyssal demon energy that spanned hundreds of millions of light years gathered together and formed 12 Dutian demon gods. Every Dutian demon god was the ultimate representative of the laws. Life laws, death laws, thunder laws, fire laws, ice laws, darkness laws, light laws, space laws, time laws, and so on. They even emitted abyssal demon energy that could corrode the void of the universe, like the will of the abyss itself. Suddenly, a Dutian demon god leaped into the air and blocked in front of Samuel. Boom! The two forces collided in a frenzy, as if billions of stars exploded at the same time. An unparalleled destructive power erupted, completely destroying the void and creating extreme void fluctuations. Bang, bang, bang. The aftermath of this power sent the surrounding saints, even the invincible realm saints, flying thousands of light years away. It seemed like no matter could survive in the center of this explosion. Even the hundreds of abyssal kings were temporarily pushed back tens of millions of kilometers. And the body of that Dutian demon god was also completely penetrated by this punch, creating a large hole in the middle. It was as if a space-time tunnel had been penetrated, and time and space seemed to freeze at this moment. But this was just the beginning. Great Sun True Dragon Seal. The Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel formed a seal with both hands, and an unimaginable destructive wave was born between his hands. Thousands of universal laws intertwined with each other, forming an unimaginably mysterious true dragon seal. The pupils of the many saints shrank, and they were shocked. They could clearly see the endless true dragon source power gathering between Samuel's hands. In just a breath's time, the endless energy was compressed crazily, forming a super red sun with a diameter of hundreds of thousands of light years, emitting endless heat. Fuck, is this old man from the dragon clan so fierce? The abyssal kings were scared out of their wits. They could feel the terror of this red sun. If it exploded, it could completely wipe out the space of hundreds of millions of light years. Even if they were invincible realm saints, if they were hit in the center, they would instantly be vaporized and die without a whole corpse. Fuck, this old man wants to kill us all together. He's borrowing a knife to kill the dragon. The invincible saints of the other races and other saints were scared half to death, and they hurriedly fled, not daring to get close to the dragon god shrine Master Samuel. If the great sun true dragon seal were to explode, they would probably be wiped from the face of this universe. This was because this power did not distinguish between friend and foe. Some of the invincible saints were also scared out of their wits. Originally, they thought they could wrestle with this old man from the dragon clan, but they didn't expect the gap to be so big that it was unimaginable. Chapter 25:36. In the blink of an eye, the dragon god shrine master Samuel gently pushed his hand forward, and the red sun in his hand was pushed forward. Then, it instantly exploded in this space. Rumbled, an unimaginable wave of destruction swept in all directions from the inside to the outside. The wild and scorching energy seemed to want to incinerate all the abyss devil energy and destroy it. We definitely can't let that old man from the dragon race succeed. The heavenly demon god formation, demon and god as one, will be invincible. The hairs of these abyssal kings stood on end as they roared in anger. If they really couldn't withstand this terrifying destructive wave, then the entire Dutian demon god array would be torn apart. If that happened, their plan of billions of years would be completely ruined. Whoosh, in an instant, the remaining 11 Dutian demon gods fused together as if they had fused into a towering demon god. It was as if it had transformed into Pangu when the chaos was first formed. The power of laws of eternity, chaos, time, space, and so on radiated from its body. It seemed to be a combination of the will of the heavenly Tao, the ultimate manifestation of all laws. Abyssal will, descend. The 100 abyssal kings used all their strength and seemed to communicate with the abyssal will. They poured all their demon power into the array, almost using up their own blood essence. Suddenly, an unimaginable will came from the depths of the void. It seemed as if no power could resist it, and it immediately poured into the body of the giant demon god. The giant demon god grew an eye. It was a single eye, but this eye was extremely terrifying. It was the eye of a devil among devils. Mortals who looked at it would go completely crazy, collapse, and turn into idiots. Even if a saint looked at it for a few seconds, their soul would be injured and distorted. It seemed as if this eye contained the fundamental power of the abyss. Like a whirlpool, it swallowed all the darkness, nothingness, and endless demon energy in this universe. It emitted the power of chaos, slaughter, and so on. In the next second, the demon god moved. The endless demon energy seemed to transform into a black axe, and it fiercely chopped toward the red sun that was about to explode in the distance. Bang! The power of this axe was simply earth-shattering. It seemed as if it could split apart the chaos. All the laws of space, time, life and death, creation, and so on were split apart. Everything turned into nothingness and ceased to exist. Even this scarlet sun was the same. Under this earth-shattering strike of Panga's axe, the sun was instantly split in half. All of the scorching flames were corroded and destroyed by the abyss demon chi, completely disappearing. What? All the godly beasts were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe how terrifying the heavenly demon god array was. It could even withstand such an earth-shattering strike from the dragon god shrine master Samuel. At this moment, their hearts had turned cold. The great heavenly demon formation was indeed one of the most powerful formations in the abyss. It had once killed an invincible saint. Such power was simply not to be underestimated. However, after taking Samuel's attack, the heavenly demon godly array wasn't unscathed. This attack had expended almost a portion of the heavenly demon god formation's essential power, as well as the essential power of over 100 abyssal emperors. As a result, the foundation of the entire formation seemed to have cracked slightly. Even the abyss devil chi in the depths of the void seemed to have thinned significantly. A trace of blood seeped from the corners of the abyssal emperors' mouths. They were panting heavily. It was obvious that they had expended a lot of their energy just now. This move couldn't be used all the time. Of course, the Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel was the same. Ahem, I'm getting old. I can't even destroy a great heavenly demon god array. At this moment, the Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He had a sigh on his face. His skinny body stood in the void as if a gust of wind could topple him. However, at this moment, none of the sages dared to underestimate this Dragon God Shrine Master anymore. Everyone knew how terrifying the power contained in his skinny body was. Once unleashed, even an invincible saint could be killed. He was simply a monster. Many abyssal emperors also didn't dare to underestimate the #1 expert of the Dragon Clan anymore. If this old man could continue to be arrogant, they would probably all die here today. Dragon God Shrine Master, you are an expert. You deserve the respect of the Abyss. It's a pity that you are not a member of the Abyss. Everyone has their own master, so I can only let you die. Fortunately, you were also caught in the trap today. That's why we had the chance to kill a legendary expert like you. Otherwise, who knows how much damage you would have brought to the Abyss in the future. This is also the fortune of the Abyss and the protection of the Abyss will. Dragon God Shrine Master, we respect an expert like you, so we will use our strongest power to grant you death. This is the funeral of an expert. This is your honor. Many abyssal emperors were filled with murderous intent. The area covered by the great heavenly demon god array turned into boundless darkness again. It seemed as if every corner of the void was filled with abyssal demon energy. In just a few breaths, the space seemed to have turned into an abyss. In such a space, the abyssal emperor's strength seemed to have increased exponentially. Even the power they had used just now was quickly replenishing. This was one of the horrors of the great heavenly demon god array. Almost all abyssal demons in the array had an immortal body. No matter how serious the injury was, as long as the array was not destroyed, they could quickly recover. Therefore, this array could easily suppress and even kill invincible realm sages. Oh no, this is troublesome. What should we do later? Can Master Samuel still use that attack? How can he still use it? Didn't you see that Master Samuel coughed? Obviously, that kind of attack can't be used anytime and anywhere. I'm afraid that it has consumed a lot of energy. How can this be? If this continues, won't we die in this array? The sages of the various godly beast clans all had serious expressions. They felt more and more pressure. Even the sages who had reached the invincible realm felt that they had nowhere to escape. Samuel, the Dragon God Shrine Master, narrowed his eyes. His originally relaxed expression became serious, and there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. He originally wanted to move again and use the power in his body to use his true power. However, he suddenly felt a strange feeling coming from the void in the distance. This strange feeling made his heart palpitate. It was as if a terrifying existence had begun to awaken in this place. This threat was countless times more terrifying than the great heavenly demon god array. Even he felt that it was extremely dangerous at this moment. Chapter 25:37. Many abyssal kings wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill these divine beasts, but they suddenly felt that the entire formation was shaking violently. It seemed that there was some kind of power within the formation that suddenly erupted and shook the heavens and the earth. Oh no, it's the Eternal Light Realm. Something's wrong with the Eternal Light Realm. An abyssal king's expression changed drastically. He clearly felt that the Eternal Light Realm, which had been surrounded by the heavenly demon formation, had suddenly undergone an earth-shattering change. They originally thought that the Eternal Light Realm would not have any problems in the short term. After all, it had been safe and sound for such a long time. There was no reason for something to happen now. But it was different now. The entire Eternal Light Realm was shaking violently. Countless rays of golden light bloomed from the depths of its interior. Like an eggshell cracking, densely packed cracks appeared. It seemed that the entire Eternal Light Realm was about to explode at this moment. And they could not stop such a violent change at all. They could only watch as it happened. At this moment, a figure rapidly flew out from the center of the Eternal Light Realm like a bolt of lightning. He seemed to be in an extremely sorry state as he directly flew towards the center of the battle. What's going on? Could there be a sage in the Eternal Light Realm just now? An Abyssal King looked puzzled. According to the situation just now, all the sages who were still alive should have left the Eternal Light Realm. But now, there was a sage coming out from inside. It was really incredible. Could it be that a sage was trapped in the Eternal Light Realm just now and took the opportunity to escape because of the Eternal Light Realm? An Abyssal King guessed. This was not impossible. After all, no one knew what was going on in the Eternal Light Realm. Perhaps a sage had barged into a certain place for no reason and ended up being trapped by a restrictive formation. He only had the opportunity to escape now. If that's the case, we can capture that sage and ask him what exactly happened in the Eternal Light Realm. Another Abyssal King's eyes flashed with a cold light. In fact, the Abyssal Demons were also very interested in the Eternal Light Realm. After all, the treasures inside were also of great benefit to the Abyssal race. If it wasn't for the fact that they had to deal with these divine beast races and completely injure these divine beasts, they would probably have personally explored it themselves. How could they give these divine beasts a chance? Even the Abyssal Kings had discovered this situation. The sages of the other divine beast races naturally also discovered this situation. A figure seemed to be in a panic as he flew towards the Abyssal Kings. It seems like a sage has escaped from the Eternal Light Realm. Which race is he from? A saint of the Chilan race asked curiously. No matter which race he is from, he actually ran to the Abyss Demons in a panic. He's probably dead. A sage said sympathetically. He felt that this guy was too unlucky. He had just escaped from the predicament of the Eternal Light Domain, and now he had to run to the Abyss Demons. Wasn't he just escaping from the wolf's den and entering the tiger's den? Wait, I seem to know that guy? A dragon saint suddenly shouted. That fellow seems to be a saint of our dragon clan. His name is Wuwudi. What? This kid is Wuwudi, the one who obtained the Khanate creation pool? When he said this, all the sages were shocked. Before the Abyss Demons appeared, they had almost fought each other. Their goal was to obtain the Khanate treasure, the Pool of Destinies. But no matter how they searched, they couldn't find Wuwudi, who had obtained the Khanate magic treasure, the creation pool. They hadn't expected him to come out of the cosmic light realm at this time. No wonder we didn't see any traces of him. He's trapped in the cosmic light realm. A dragon saint suddenly understood. He felt that what had happened before could be explained clearly. No wonder they couldn't find any traces of Wuwudi no matter how they searched. In fact, these sages were right. The person who suddenly appeared from the cosmic light realm was Xia Ping. When the group of Abyss Demons appeared, he sensed it. Immediately, he felt that this was a great opportunity. If the group of Abyss Demons and the group of divine beasts helped to resist the power of the sacred corpse, then he might be able to escape from the chaos and avoid the sacred corpse's pursuit. Therefore, when Xia Ping sensed that the battle was reaching its climax, he didn't say anything and immediately let the system help him completely refine the eternal clock and make it his own. Without the eternal clock, the cosmic light realm naturally couldn't maintain the entire world's operation. In fact, the reason why the cosmic light realm could survive the great apocalypse of the universe was purely because of the eternal clock. Due to the law of time, the entire cosmic light realm was maintained at the moment when it was about to be destroyed. But if the power of the eternal clock disappeared, then the cosmic light realm would completely collapse and disappear from this universe, just like the cave abodes of other gods in the previous universe. Because of this, the entire cosmic light realm was in a state of great apocalypse after Xia Ping collected the eternal clock. Every place was completely shattered. The huge sacred corpse that was originally trapped in the Genesis star also finally woke up from the long period of time because it lost the power to stop time. As soon as the sacred corpse woke up, it instantly sensed that its natal magic treasure seemed to have been taken away. Now that it was in trouble, it immediately aroused the instinctive anger of the sacred corpse and it chased after Xia Ping. However, because it had just woken up, its body's power was slowly recovering and it couldn't unleash its full power for a while. This also gave Xia Ping a chance to escape. Therefore, Xia Ping wouldn't stay in this place. He immediately ran toward the group of abyssal kings. Of course, in order to prevent his real body from being killed, he only let his clone fly over while his real body entered the peerless sacred artifact, the formless hall, and temporarily hid in the depths of the void. After all, his clone ability was enough to pass off the fake as the real one. Even an invincible saint wouldn't be able to detect it. Most importantly, the sacred corpse was already dead and had lost its soul, so it was impossible to detect the difference. Because of this, his doppelganger was enough to lure the god's corpse away. Of course, the group of abyssal kings and the group of divine beasts had no idea what was going on. After all, everything had happened too quickly and they were still in a daze. Brat, immediately stop and give this king a good explanation. Just what happened in the cosmic light world? Why did it suddenly explode? Is there some kind of treasure about to appear? With a swoosh, more than a dozen abyssal kings surrounded Xia Ping in an instant and stopped him. They were filled with murderous intent and emitted a terrifying aura. It was as if time and space had frozen in that instant. Third Sect Master. Chapter 25:38. Too strong. Xia Ping sensed the aura of these abyssal kings and immediately felt an unparalleled power. In front of such power he was like an ant. It seemed that as long as these abyssal kings wanted to, they could tear him into pieces in an instant, leaving nothing behind. Although he seemed to have ascended to the middle ancient sage stage and comprehended the law of time, compared to these invincible sages, there was still a huge gap. It could be calculated in light years. Fortunately, he was smart enough to use his clone to act. If he had come with his real body, he was afraid that he would have fallen into great danger. If he was careless, he was afraid that he would have been killed by these abyssal kings. Brother, don't be impulsive. We are all on the same side. Now that there is a big problem in the eternal light realm, a terrifying monster suddenly appeared. If we don't kill this monster, we will all die. Xia Ping revealed a panicked look. Brother. Hearing this, the group of abyssal kings immediately laughed loudly. They had lived for so long, but this was the first time they saw a creature from the modern world call them brother. This kid was too bold. At this critical moment of life and death, he still wanted to build a good relationship with them. Monster? Stupid dragon race. In this universe, what creature is more terrifying than us abyssal demons? Don't use your strength to measure our level. You're just a monster, so what? In front of the abyss, all living creatures are just food. An abyssal king said disdainfully, extremely arrogant. That's right. Hurry up and say, what did you see in the eternal light realm? Why did such a situation occur in the eternal light realm? If you hide anything, this king will make you wish you were dead. Another abyssal king said ferociously, his killing intent surging. Don't worry, I promise to tell you everything I know. Xia Ping revealed a frightened expression and immediately patted his chest, indicating that no matter what he knew, he would tell them everything and would not hide anything. The group of abyssal kings. They looked at each other in dismay, feeling that their threats had all gone to waste. To be honest, this was the first time they had seen such a cowardly giant dragon. Before they could even torture it, it was already so scared that it spilled the beans. This made them feel no sense of accomplishment from extorting a confession. Fuck, this Wu-Woody is too cowardly. He's a complete coward. The abyss hasn't even dealt with him yet, but he's already so scared. He's a traitor. Some sages of the Phoenix race could not help but curse out loud upon seeing this. Even if he's being threatened by an abyss king, he shouldn't be so frightened. He hasn't even started to interrogate him, yet he's already spilling everything he knows. He's simply embarrassing our divine beast clan. I knew that the dragon race is a bunch of cowards. They don't have the slightest bit of integrity. Dragon race, we are ashamed to be associated with you. Many saints of the divine beast clans couldn't help but curse. The group of dragon race sages were flushed with anger. They hated Wu Wuti to the core. He had actually displayed such a cowardly personality in front of so many divine beast races. How was the dragon race supposed to maintain their dignity? They couldn't retort at all. In fact, Xia Ping wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, the immortal corpse on the origin star finally woke up completely. Boom. In an instant, all living beings within a radius of billions of light-years felt an extremely terrifying aura. It was a power that surpassed that of an invincible saint. It was like the heavenly Tao. With a crack, the entire eternal light realm shattered into pieces, turning into countless fragments that scattered in all directions. Whoosh! Following that, a huge immortal corpse immediately appeared in front of all the saints. Its size was so huge that it practically spanned across a large star sector. It looked boundless. Wisps of terrifying divine aura were also emitted from its body. It was as if any wisp of it could crush the heavens. Any saint would be extremely insignificant in the face of such power. The Dutian demon god formation, which was extremely sturdy and sealed off the void, was originally unable to leak any power out. However, the moment the immortal corpse appeared, just a wisp of its aura was enough to cause dense cracks to appear on the formation. Even the foundation of the formation was damaged. The entire void of the abyss was stirred up, and the endless space was shaken until it creaked. Hundreds of arrogant and condescending abyssal kings were dumbfounded when they saw the appearance of this creature. They suddenly realized that they weren't the highest-level creatures in this universe. There were even more terrifying creatures above them. In front of such a creature, they seemed extremely insignificant, like ants. This huge creature merely floated in the void, but the aura it emitted was enough to easily injure a saint. All the laws of the universe seemed to be completely ineffective around it, and everything turned into a state of chaos. Who was it that awakened the great God of eternal light? Who was it that took away my eternal clock? And who was it that blasphemed the dignity of the gods? The giant corpse burst out one sentence after another, but this wasn't an ordinary language. It was the language of the gods, and it contained the boundless power of the laws. When these words were spoken, it was as if they were golden words and jade rules, forming the absolute power of laws. Although the saints couldn't understand this language, they could all sense the anger contained in these words, as well as the unparalleled divine might and irresistible pressure. The giant corpse was clearly enraged. Even though it had been dead for an unknown period of time, the dignity of the gods couldn't be blasphemed, and the dignity of the gods couldn't be violated. Fuck, is this a monster? This is a fucking god, a god from the era of the previous universe. The faces of all the abyssal kings turned green when they saw the giant corpse appear. Just now, they had been full of confidence that there wouldn't be a monster more terrifying than the abyssal demons in this world. However, when they saw the appearance of this god corpse, their hearts sank. Even though this god had been dead for an unknown period of time, the aura emanating from its body was still something they couldn't resist. It was like a mortal facing a saint. Even if a saint was on the verge of death, he could still easily kill a group of mortals. The gap between a saint and a god was probably even greater than the gap between a mortal and a saint. Damn it, what kind of monster has come out of the eternal light realm? The saints of the various divine beast races didn't dare to say anything else. They could sense that an even more terrifying threat than the abyssal demons had appeared. If they weren't careful, they would probably all die here like the abyssal demons. Chapter 25:39. This is the ruler of the Timelight realm, the god of Timelight, the mythical Kuan Peng. Samuel, the temple master of the dragon god shrine, showed a rare solemn expression. Temple master, is this the mythical Kuan Peng? Didn't it die a long time ago? A dragon elder asked. It is indeed dead, and only a corpse is left. If it was still alive, I'm afraid we would be dead with just a glare. How could we still be standing here talking? Samuel said in a low voice, but even if it is dead, a god is still a god and cannot be blasphemed. I'm afraid a sage did something blasphemous to it and caused the instinctive wrath of the god. Blasphemous? As soon as this was said, almost all the sages looked at Xia Ping, because it was this kid who escaped from the Timelight realm and caused the god of Timelight to be angry. There was no doubt that this kid must have done something blasphemous to the god. Son of a bitch, did you do something to provoke this god corpse to come back to life? An abyssal king glared at Xia Ping. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling. No, I'm innocent. I just accidentally passed by its place of hibernation, accidentally took something from it, and accidentally woke it up. Xia Ping expressed his innocence. What an accident! Many of the abyssal kings were infuriated. This bastard dragon sage had clearly done something incredible in the Eternal Light realm. That was why the entire Eternal Light realm had been destroyed, and even the corpses of the gods had been disturbed. Moreover, this bastard also knew that he was no match for this god's corpse, so he ran to this place. It was clear that he wanted them to help him deal with this god's corpse. They were also demon kings of the abyss, demons who had lived for countless years. How could they not see through this bastard Wu-Wudi's plan? He was simply using someone else to do his dirty work. Wait a minute, Wu-Wudi? Why is this name so familiar? I seem to have heard this name somewhere before. Suddenly, an abyss demon woke up and seemed to have thought of something. With a thud, a light shone from the depths of its sea of consciousness. Right, this name is the name of a human sage. That bastard is also called Wu-Wudi, and he has ruined our plans several times. What's going on? Why would you, a sage of the dragon tribe, take a human's name and it's so similar? It stared at Xia Ping, obviously suspicious of Xia Ping's identity. That's right, I also remember that there is an extremely detestable scourge among the human race. The abyss once issued a kill order for this brat. It was simply a pleasure to kill him. Another abyssal king seemed to recall this matter as well. I originally wanted to chase after this person, but this human Wu-Wudi's concealment skills are top-notch. He has committed crimes everywhere, and I can't find any traces of him, so I can only give up for now. Could it be that this kid came to the dragon world and even pretended to be a dragon saint to cause trouble? Impossible. No matter how I look at it, this brat is a dragon. He doesn't have the aura of a human at all. Some of the abyss kings stared closely at Xia Ping, but they couldn't detect any human aura from him. There are many secret techniques in this universe that can allow one to transform into another race. This kind of secret technique is enough to pass off as genuine. This is not surprising. In short, this kid's identity is too suspicious. An abyssal king sneered. Damn it, if this kid is the same person as the human Wu-Wudi, then isn't he here to ruin our abyss plans again? How many times does this guy want to ruin our abyss plans before he gives up? Many abyssal kings were filled with murderous intent as they stared at Xia Ping. Tell me, what is your relationship with the human Wu-Wudi? Why do the two of you have the same name? Is this just a coincidence? An abyssal king asked. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes turned, and he said casually, "That's right, now that things have come to this, I admit that I am the human Wu-Wudi. I didn't expect you abyssal demons to have some brains to be able to see through my identity." He openly admitted his identity, because only then could he attract more hatred. In order to obtain the divine artifact, the eternal clock, he had spent a lot of hatred. He needed to take this opportunity to make up for it. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take to accumulate so many hatred points. Therefore, he naturally wouldn't miss such an opportunity. Damn, this bastard actually admitted it. These two bastards are indeed the same person. He's too bold. You're here to ruin our abyss plans again. Hearing Xia Ping admit his identity as Wu-Wudi, the other abyssal kings immediately flew into a rage. They were so angry that smoke was coming out of their pores, and their lungs almost exploded. This was because the human Wu-Wudi had ruined the abyss plans countless times. This time, the abyss had planned for billions of epochs and spent a lot of resources in hopes of capturing all these divine beasts in one fell swoop. But who would have thought that at this critical moment, the human Wu Wudi was a troublemaker. He jumped out at this time to cause trouble, and even let a god's corpse run out. He was simply causing destruction everywhere. Seeing that their abyss plans were about to be ruined once again, with billions of epochs of planning and resources destroyed in an instant, one could imagine the hatred in their hearts. They even wanted to kill someone. They wanted nothing more than to tear Xia Ping's body into a million pieces right now. Moreover, this bastard was so bold that he dared to directly admit that he was the human Wu Wudi in front of the Abyssal Kings. He wasn't afraid of them at all. How much did he look down on them before letting it go? Was he really not afraid of them killing him? What? This guy isn't a sage of our dragon clan, but a human sage? Hearing this, the dragon sages were dumbfounded. They looked at each other and didn't know what to do. They didn't expect to hear such news at this time. That's impossible. If he's not a sage of our dragon clan, how did he sneak into our dragon realm? I remember that I met him in the dragon realm before. Some of the dragon clan sages cried out, feeling that this matter was unbelievable. Could it be that the human has already mastered a way to enter our dragon realm, and even the dragon god shrine can't detect him? A sage said. This. The elders of the dragon god shrine had ugly expressions. That was because they were responsible for the protection of the entire dragon realm. If the dragon realm allowed a middle ancient realm human sage to enter silently without being detected, that would be a major mistake on the dragon god shrine's part. If such a loophole was grasped by other races, wouldn't the dragon realm be like a sieve in the future, allowing other races to enter at will? That would be terrible. Thupin Chinese. Chapter 2540. Wait, that's not right. Doesn't this guy have a big brother called Master Potato? A dragon sage suddenly thought of this. Bullshit, big brother. This must be one of Wu Wudi's clones. They're obviously the same person. How is there a big brother or a second brother? A dragon god shrine elder scolded. But if that's the case, wasn't Master Potato trapped in the invisible dragon Theodore's relic? How did this guy get out? A dragon sage asked. Is there a need to ask? This bastard must have obtained all the inheritance of the invisible dragon Theodore and sneaked out without us noticing. An elder's expression was ugly. Fucking dogs hit. This Wu Wudi of the human race is so arrogant. To think that he would dare to barge into our dragon world so brazenly. In fact, he even wants to steal away one of the greatest legacies of our dragon world. Oh my god, if it wasn't for the abyssal demon's timely reminder, we wouldn't have known about this. Isn't that so? If we didn't know that the inheritance of the invisible dragon Theodore had been taken away, we wouldn't even know if this human Wu Wudi left and took away a large number of treasures in the dragon world. How many treasures did this bastard take from us in the dragon world? When did this happen? Many dragon sages were shocked and angry. They felt that the dragon clan had suffered a great loss this time. They couldn't believe that an ancient middle realm dragon sage had sneaked into the dragon world. Even the inheritance of the invisible dragon Theodore could be taken away by this person. This was like cutting off a piece of flesh from the dragon clan. The losses were unimaginable. The other races such as the Phoenix clan, the Qilin clan, the Black Tortoise clan, and other divine beasts were gloating. They loved to see the dragon clan suffer. The dragons of the dragon clan were all shameless bandits. They robbed everywhere and were very shameless. Now, someone was robbing them. Wasn't this a dog-eat-dog, a black-on-black situation? To them, this was simply something that they were delighted to see. If it wasn't for the fact that they were facing a great enemy, they would have laughed. Brat, you're so arrogant. Do you really think we don't dare to kill you? Many abyssal kings stared at Xia Ping with gloomy expressions. Oh, bite me if you can. Xia Ping was like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. In any case, this was just a clone. If it died, so be it. He could do whatever he wanted. What? The abyssal emperors were infuriated by Xia Ping's unbridled display, and they wanted nothing more than to smash this damned human into smithereens. However, they were still the kings of the abyss, existences that stood at the peak of the universe. They were extremely shrewd. They felt that there was definitely a reason for this human being to be so arrogant and unscrupulous. In fact, there were many taboos in the universe. Once these taboos were violated, even an invincible saint would have to die. It was clear that this damned human had entered the cosmic light realm and revived the god corpse. He must have violated some sort of cosmic taboo. Perhaps he had been cursed. It was also because of this that this bastard could not wait for others to kill him so that the curse on him would be transferred. That was why he had such an attitude and was clamoring everywhere. In fact, this was not impossible. Such a curse existed in the abyss. As gods, it was very normal for them to have such a secret technique. Otherwise, why would the god corpse chase after this kid like crazy when it revived? It seemed as if it would not give up. It was also because of this that they were even more careful. It was actually very easy to kill this weak human, but they had to be careful if there was a trap behind him. They had painstakingly grown from weak abyssal demons to the demon kings that dominated the universe. They did not want to lose their lives here because of a moment of carelessness. Boom. At this moment, the giant god corpse moved. It was only a slight movement, but it immediately seemed as if the sky and earth were falling apart. The void was completely shattered like glass. What? The faces of the many abyssal emperors changed. They could clearly sense that the originally extremely sturdy Dutian demon god formation was now densely packed with cracks. The great heavenly demon formation was an extremely powerful formation that could easily stop many invincible sages. However, it could not even stop the god's corpse from moving gently. Boom. In the next second, the god corpse's body gently turned over. It was as if the earth and mountains were shaking, and heaven and earth were reversing. The entire Dutian demon god formation completely collapsed. The abyssal space that originally covered billions of light-years also shattered like glass. All of the abyssal demon energy was expelled, and countless spatial cracks appeared in the void. The foundation of the formation completely exploded and turned into powder. At this moment, the many divine beasts could clearly sense the situation outside and could contact the saints in their clans at any time to come to their aid. No formation could stop them now. However, they did not feel happy at all. They could feel the terrifying domain emanating from the god corpse. This was a god's kingdom. It was as if any mortal could not withstand a single blow from such a god's domain. They could not use any power at all. A tyrannical divine aura permeated every corner of the billions of light-years. The pressure made the saints' bodies creak, as if they were carrying mountains on their backs. They could not move at all. They also felt as if they had fallen into a swamp. It was impossible for them to teleport away. Roar! The god corpse let out a low roar. Its huge body and the wings on its back fluttered lightly. In an instant, it stirred the space-time of billions of light-years. A mysterious and tyrannical power of the great Tao descended. Oh no! An abyssal king shouted. Its expression changed drastically. It could clearly feel the tyrannical and mysterious power of the great Tao coming from the god corpse. It was like a domain covering its body. In the next second, its body underwent an earth-shattering change. Its huge body, which was originally tens of millions of feet tall, was now shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Moreover, its power was also rapidly weakening. Invincible realm, archaic realm, immemorial ancient realm, middle ancient realm. In the end, its power actually transformed to the level of a mortal. Its body also became the size of an ordinary human baby. It looked like a black bat. The black bat revealed a pair of cute eyes, as if it did not know what was happening. Damn it, this is the power of the great Tao of time. It can reverse time in your body to the time when you were an infant. You can't touch it, or you'll be sealed into a mortal state in a single breath. Another abyssal king was scared half to death. Its hair stood on end. An invincible saint was actually sealed into a mortal state by just a ray of light. What kind of unimaginable power of the great Tao of time was this? What? The abyssal demons were not the only ones scared half to death. The other divine beasts were also scared half to death. If their bodies were returned to the time when they were infants, wouldn't their billions of eras of cultivation be destroyed in a single day? What kind of joke was this? Chapter 2541. Are you kidding me? That's just a corpse. How can it be so terrifying that even an invincible sage can't resist it? It turned into a baby in an instant? Many sages from the godly beast clans were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes. Normally, invincible sages were the most powerful beings in the universe. They were almost invincible. They had comprehended the laws of life and death, and no one could kill them. But now, a mighty king of the abyss had been reduced to such a state by a mere glance from the god's corpse. They couldn't help but feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Even a sage would be like an ant in the face of a deity. This isn't an ordinary corpse. It's the corpse of a god. We won't be able to withstand even a wisp of its energy. We can't fight it head-on. What do we do now? This corpse seems to be extremely fast. If it gets close, all of us sages will die. We won't be able to fight back. Many sages panicked. It was the first time they had encountered such a powerless state. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't do anything. The difference between the two sides was too great. Right, the dragon god shrine master, Lord Samuel, I heard that he had seen gods in the previous universe. He should know how to deal with this god's corpse. Suddenly, a sage from the Qilin clan thought of this. Instantly, countless sages looked at Samuel, the dragon god shrine master. Fuck, where's Lord Samuel? Where did he go? A sage from the dragon clan was dumbfounded. He couldn't find the dragon god shrine master Samuel no matter how hard he searched. The other sages were also dumbfounded. They looked at each other and didn't know what to do. It was because they could not find any trace of Samuel. It was as if Samuel had disappeared the moment the god's corpse appeared. He had run away without a trace. Fuck, that bastard ran away. Fuck, he really ran away. I can't even see him. Shameless old man from the dragon clan. How shameless. He even abandoned his own clansmen. Is he still the dragon god shrine master? An unrivaled saint of the phoenix race cursed. He could sense that Samuel was moving at top speed. He seemed to be leaving this place at top speed. He was extremely fast and silent. If it wasn't for its sharp senses, it wouldn't have been able to discover the traces left behind by Samuel. At this moment, Samuel's voice came from the void. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm too old. My internal injuries suddenly acted up, and I don't have any strength left in my body. I really can't deal with such a monster. To avoid being a burden to you, I'll take my leave first. The responsibility of saving the universe will be handed over to you young dragons. Don't go against that god's corpse. Even if it's dead, it's still a god's corpse. With your strength, you won't even be able to break its skin. Of course, if you're stubborn, you can try. What? Hearing this, all the sages were enraged. They were so angry that their lungs were about to explode, and their faces turned green. This damned shameless old man. He clearly knew that this was a danger that even the sages couldn't resist, but he didn't even say anything. He ran away alone, and he ran very fast. He didn't look like an old man who was about to die at all. To be honest, this level of ferocity was many times more ferocious than the young sages. He even said that his internal injuries suddenly acted up. They didn't know who was so ferocious just now. He single-handedly suppressed hundreds of kings of the abyss. He was so ferocious that he almost broke the Dutian demon god array. Why did his internal injuries suddenly flare up? Of all times, it had to flare up now. Only a fool would believe your words, you rotten old man. He even said that he didn't want to be a burden to them. Obviously, this old man was afraid that the sages would be a burden to him. That was why he couldn't wait to abandon these burdens. They immediately understood how terrifying this god's corpse was. Even the dragon god shrine master Samuel, who was known as the strongest person in the universe, was so scared that he ran away alone without saying a word. One could imagine how terrifying this god's corpse was. It was definitely not something they could resist. Rumble. In an instant, the mythical Kuan Peng moved again. The mythical domain on its body trembled again. Suddenly, the nearby divine beasts and many kings of the abyss were too close to this mythical Kuan Peng. Even if they wanted to escape, there was no way. Whoosh, in just a few breaths, These sages were actually suppressed by the great Tao of time and space. Time and space backtracked. Just like the previous king of the abyss, they were quickly returned to the state of infants. They didn't know how much their strength had been weakened. Suddenly, more than a dozen kings of the abyss were returned to the state of mortals. Even ordinary martial arts masters could easily kill these kings of the abyss. Damn God's corpse! Since you are already a remnant of the previous era of the universe, you should obediently die. How dare you cause trouble in this era? You really don't know what's good for you. I will destroy you. Seeing this situation, many kings of the abyss were angry. If this continued, not only would their plan be completely destroyed, but even they would die in this place. How could they accept such a fact? In an instant, these kings of the abyss attacked. Each of them displayed a terrifying magic of the abyss, which seemed to contain the terrible power of the laws of the abyss. They formed thick abyssal rays of death. Every abyssal ray of death contained the ultimate power of death. Even if a ray of death pierced through a planet, it would completely turn that planet into a dead star, robbing all of its life force. It could be said that even invincible sages would not dare to take this attack head-on. They had to be extremely careful. In an instant, thousands of abyssal rays of death bombarded the mythical Kunpeng. Bang, bang, bang. But it didn't work at all. These terrible power of the laws of the abyss bombarded the body of the mythical Kunpeng. Immediately, a ripple of nothingness was produced. It was like a small stone falling into the sea, only causing a slight ripple. All the power was devoured by the body of the Kunpeng. It didn't work at all? Many kings of the abyss had goosebumps. They finally understood the seriousness of the matter. Their power couldn't hurt this body at all. The difference between the two was simply unimaginable. Boom! At this moment, the mythical Kunpeng seemed to be infuriated by such an action. It instinctively counterattacked. The huge wings of the Kunpeng on its back gently shook. Rays of azure light of the laws of the great path penetrated through time and space, penetrating in all directions. Dong, dong, dong. In just an instant, these azure lights effortlessly penetrated the sages. Chapter 2542. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, 20 to 30 abyssal kings were caught off guard. They were instantly penetrated by the blue nomological power, and their souls were completely destroyed. These abyssal kings did not have any power to resist. Just one blow had completely plundered their life force, leaving nothing behind. Huge abyssal corpses floated in the void, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. Damn it, run! The other sages were scared half to death when they saw this. They did not dare to stay in this place. If they were hit by the power of the mythical Kunpeng, their power would regress, and their cultivation of billions of epochs would be destroyed. Even if they attacked it, they would be met with a counterattack. Even the abyssal kings were killed in an instant, so how could ordinary sages resist it? In front of this sacred corpse, they were simply ants. They could not use any of the power that they were proud of. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless sages of the divine beast clans could not care about anything else. They used their mystiques and fled in all directions, not daring to stay in this place at all. At this moment, they finally understood why Samuel had run away. It turned out that this old man already knew how terrifying the mythical Kunpeng was. It was not something that sages could resist. No matter how much power they had, it was a joke to the gods. They were like ants. Damn it, we can't deal with this sacred corpse. With our power, we can't do anything to it for now. There's no other way. The plan this time has failed. Let's retreat. Many abyssal kings had very ugly expressions. They clenched their fists in extreme anger, but they had no other choice but to choose to give up on today's plan. Otherwise, they would probably all die in this place. It's all that damn human Wu-Wudi's fault. If it weren't for this bastard, how could this have happened? If it weren't for this dog, how could our plan of so many years have failed? One of the abyssal kings hated Wu-Wudi to the extreme. He blamed the failure of the plan on Wu-Wudi, saying that it was all Wu-Wudi's fault. Where is that bastard human? Where did he go? I'm going to capture him, tear him to shreds, and make him suffer a fate worse than death. The dozen or so abyssal emperors were also enraged. After all, the abyss had planned this for countless years, expending a great deal of time, effort, and resources. But today, because of this puny human, they had lost everything. How could they take this lying down? They wanted nothing more than to kill Wu Wuti. He ran. The moment the god corpse appeared, that bastard fled. He ran even faster than the dragon god shrine master, an abyss king said through gritted teeth. In fact, it had also noticed Wu Wuti's actions. The problem was that the god's corpse had just launched an attack and killed an abyss king. At that time, it was still in a state of shock. How could it think of intercepting this hateful human? In the end, it could only watch helplessly as that bastard escaped. Damn it, he ran away? How could he let that bastard escape? He did such a heartless thing and made us the scapegoat, but that bastard actually ran away. Is there any justice in this world? Find him. Find him immediately. I'm going to kill him. I must kill him. The dozen or so abyssal emperors were all furious. How could they tolerate something as such? To let the main culprit leave without a trace would cause their abyss to suffer a huge loss. Right now, they even had the heart to annihilate Wu Wuti's entire clan. Roar! At that moment, the mythical Kun Peng roared again. With its body as the center, it seemed to produce a terrifying destructive wave that spread for billions of light years. This destructive wave was simply a law that could destroy everything. Wherever it went, all matter turned into powder, no longer existing. Even an invincible saint could not withstand it. Damn it, run! We can't stay here. When the many abyssal emperors saw this, they were scared half to death. Now, they were not in the mood to find trouble with Xia Ping. What they wanted to do most was to escape and get away from this terrifying corpse. However, it was too late for some of the abyssal emperors to escape. Before they could leave, the destructive wave instantly bombarded these abyssal emperors. In just an instant, their bodies and souls turned into nothingness. Not even a single particle was able to survive. When they saw this scene, they were scared half to death and had no courage to resist. When had they ever seen an invincible saint die like an ant? Now, they could not care about anything else. They used their space magic, turned into abyssal bodies, and immediately escaped into the depths of the void. It was not only the abyssal emperors who did this. The other divine beasts also wished that their parents could give them a few more legs. They were afraid that if they were one step late, they would be caught by the sacred corpse and die without a burial place. However, the mythical Kun Peng's speed was too fast. It seemed to see space as nothing. Its huge body shook slightly, and waves of ripples immediately appeared in the void. In an instant, it traversed countless light years and directly tracked the abyssal emperors and divine beasts. It's over. It's completely over. How can we escape? There's no way to escape. Just wait for death. Wu Wuti of the human race, I will not let you off even if I become a ghost in this life. Many abyssal emperors and divine beasts all revealed a look of despair. They knew that they had been targeted. No matter how far they fled, there was no way out. They could only close their eyes and wait for death. And they also hated the main culprit, Wu Wuti of the human race. If that despicable and shameless Wu Wuti appeared here, they would simply want to peel off that bastard's skin and pull out his tendons. If this bastard did not release this terrifying sacred corpse, there would not have been such a huge commotion, and they would not have ended up like this. If this human Wu Wuti was not the main culprit, then who was the real culprit? Buzz, however, at this moment, time and space within a radius of billions of light years seemed to have stopped. It was as if time, space, and other dimensions had completely frozen. In the depths of space and time far away, a dark vortex appeared, and a terrifying white eye appeared. It was cold and emotionless, as if it was the supreme great Tao. With just a glance from this eye, it was as if all their secrets would be seen through. In the face of such great power, they had no way of fighting back. And that invincible sacred corpse, Kun Peng, also seemed to have sensed something. It temporarily stopped, as if it had also sensed great danger. Divine retribution. This is the divine retribution of the laws of the universe. This sacred corpse cannot be tolerated by the universe. It's going to suffer divine retribution. Suddenly, many abyssal emperors and divine beasts understood. That terrifying white eye was most likely the eye of divine retribution formed by the source laws of the universe. Chapter 25:43. In an instant, beams of light of rules descended from the depths of the huge dark vortex. They pierced through the ages and destroyed everything, containing terrifying power. Any saint who saw this power would be able to sense the power and greatness of the origin of the universe. It was beyond the imagination of ordinary life forms. Dong, dong, dong. Immediately, the seemingly invincible body of the sacred remains, which no saint could penetrate, was easily penetrated by the light beams of rules. Hundreds and thousands of bloody holes appeared in an instant. Vaguely, the sacred remains seemed to be in intense pain. It let out a roar and a terrifying divine might spread out, shattering the light beams of rules in an instant. He's too powerful. Many saints had goosebumps when they saw this scene. They could all sense how powerful the sacred remains was. He had clearly encountered divine retribution, but he still had a certain degree of resistance. They had no idea how terrifying this god would have been if he were still alive. However, this behavior seemed to have angered the origin of the universe. Suddenly, tens of thousands of thick black chains of order extended from the depths of the void. Every chain of order emanated the aura of rules of chaos, darkness, annihilation, abstruseness, and so on. It seemed to be able to seal the power of all living beings in this world. Whoosh, in the next second, tens of thousands of chains of order came crashing down like god-slaying spears. They ignored the distance between time and space and bombarded the sacred remains. With a boom, the god's corpse was caught off guard. Its enormous body was instantly pierced by thousands of chains of order. Immediately, densely packed patterns of the origin of laws appeared on its body. It seemed to have formed a divine prohibition, and the power of the god's corpse was sealed under the chains of order in an instant. It's over. Many saints could feel how terrifying the chains of order were. If their bodies were penetrated by a chain of order, their souls would probably be destroyed in an instant. The sacred remains had been penetrated by tens of thousands of chains of order. He would definitely not be able to struggle and could only obediently surrender. Under the pull of the countless chains of order, the sacred remains seemed to be slowly being pulled into the depths of time and space. However, at this moment, the sacred remains also felt a great danger. A terrifying power of the great path seemed to have erupted from the depths of his body, releasing endless golden light. All the saints felt a great divine power. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the chains of order that bound the god's corpse could not withstand this vast divine power. They were shattered into countless pieces in an instant. It struggled to escape from the restraints of the chains of order. In the next second, it flapped its wings and soared into the sky, trying to escape into the void and escape from this place. No way! He can even shatter the chains of order? Not only were the mythological beasts astonished, but even the abyssal emperors were also dumbstruck upon seeing this. Only now did they realize just how terrifying of a creature they were fighting. No wonder the shrine master of the dragon god shrine ran away faster than anyone else. It was obvious that the bad old man had already known this. No matter how many sages attacked together, they would only die. If they resisted stubbornly, they would definitely lose their lives. The only way to save their lives was to escape the attack range of the immortal's corpse. The advantage of numbers was meaningless to the gods. Even if the invincible saints attacked together, it would be useless. My God, could it be that even the divine wrath can't do anything to this immortal corpse? Many of the sages felt suffocated. They could clearly sense that the god's corpse was extremely fast. With a gentle flap of its wings, it instantly escaped into the void, trying to escape. Boom. However, at this moment, the origin will of the universe seemed to be enraged. A huge black coffin floated out from the depths of the chaos. Dense dark runes appeared on its surface. Many of the sages immediately felt the aura of death, destruction, seals, curses, desolation, chaos, and other things when they saw the black coffin. It was as if their souls would be pulled into the black coffin if they looked at it for too long. Damn it. Retreat. Everyone, don't look. This is the black coffin of destruction. I've seen similar coffins in the Forbidden Darkness zone before. Many immortal corpses were sealed in them. This is ominous. Some sages couldn't help but shout. It was scared half to death and desperately tried to escape. If any sages had entered the Forbidden Darkness zone before, they would know how terrifying this black coffin of destruction was. Even if they were invincible sages, they would be instantly swallowed by the black coffin of destruction and die without a complete corpse. This was a forbidden existence in the Forbidden Darkness zone. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as it finished speaking, all of them, including the Abyssal Emperors, were scared half to death. They didn't dare to stay and watch the show. They desperately tried to escape from this area. Some of the sages were more unlucky. When they got close to the black coffin of destruction, they could only take a look. Just a look. With a boom, their souls left their bodies and were instantly swallowed by the black coffin of destruction. No matter what kind of divine ability or magic treasure they used, they couldn't stop the strange power that swallowed their souls. In the next second, dozens of sages died and disappeared from the universe just like that. This is too scary. Many of the sages who managed to escape the area of influence of the black coffin of destruction felt lucky. They felt like they had survived a disaster. Fortunately, they escaped in time. Otherwise, they would have died without a doubt. Rumble, however, this black coffin of destruction was not targeted at these sages. It only appeared for one purpose, and that was the huge mythical Kuanping's corpse. It slowly floated over and seemed to emit the desolation of eternal darkness. No laws of time and space could affect it. It was like a small boat drifting in the river of time and space. As if sensing the appearance of the black coffin of destruction, the divine body seemed to have a trace of fear. It was as if it had met its greatest nemesis, and it ran with all its might. But it was too late. With a whoosh, the black coffin of destruction teleported and appeared in front of the huge corpse in an instant. With a crack, the black coffin of destruction opened and a dark cave seemed to appear. It was as if a huge beast had opened its mouth and swallowed everything. The inside of the coffin seemed to emit the aura of death, doomsday, desolation, eternity, and so on. Immediately, the immortal's corpse, which was so strong that even the chains of order could easily destroy it, could not resist the strange power of the black coffin at all. Boom, in just an instant, the immortal's corpse, which was the size of a star field, was swallowed by the black coffin. The door to the coffin closed tightly and locked up. With a few thumps, the huge corpse seemed to be struggling inside the coffin. However, layers of mysterious black origin runes appeared and easily suppressed the power of the huge corpse. One after another, the laws of order sealed the black coffin. Vaguely, the image of a Kuanping seemed to appear on the surface of the black coffin. Chapter 2544. Boom. Next, under the watchful eyes of all the sages, the mysterious black coffin slowly moved. It seemed to emit an eternal aura before it slowly entered the depths of the dark vortex. During this time, none of the sages dared to move. They were afraid that they would trigger the black coffin and turn them into ashes. In the next second, the huge eye of heavenly wrath disappeared, as did the dark vortex. The universe also returned to its calm state. The huge black coffin had disappeared into an unknown place. Everything was incomparably calm, as if nothing had happened just now. If not for the lingering aura of heavenly wrath in the depths of the void, no one would have known what kind of earth-shattering battle had taken place there. It's finally gone. That's great. Fortunately, the immortal's corpse triggered heavenly wrath. Otherwise, we would all have been turned into ashes. I didn't expect the power of the gods to be so terrifying. Even a corpse could render us helpless. The sages could not help but heave a sigh of relief when they saw the black coffin disappear. They could not help but feel like they had just survived a disaster. If the heavenly wrath had appeared any later, all of them would have died without exception. However, at this moment, the godly beasts and the abyssal kings immediately separated. They began to be wary of each other and kept an appropriate distance. Without the threat of the immortal's corpse, they were now mortal enemies. Especially when the abyssal kings had almost completely annihilated the sages of the godly beasts. They would never forget this hatred. In fact, if not for the human Wu-Wudi's sudden appearance, who knew how many of them would have died? However, these abyssal kings were still invincible sages. Even though they had suffered heavy casualties, the surviving abyssal kings were not to be underestimated. Damn it, it's all Wu-Wudi's fault. At this moment, the group of abyssal kings gritted their teeth. They hated the human Wu-Wudi to the extreme. If it were not for this bastard who had released such an incredible monster, their plan would have succeeded a long time ago. This would have been the first step for the abyssal kings to invade the world. However, it was all over now. Not only did their plan fail and expose their true identities and motives, but they also lost 60 to 70 abyssal kings in the battle with the immortal's corpse. There were originally over 100 abyssal emperors, but now, 70% of them had died. This was a heavy loss. Even for the abyss, this was an irreparable loss. After all, the birth of an abyss king was not a simple matter. It required many years of accumulation and talent. Now, 60 to 70 abyssal emperors had died all at once. This kind of loss was extremely rare even in the primeval era, when the war against the races of the universe was at its fiercest. One could imagine how much they hated Wu-Wudi from the human clan. They simply wanted to kill him and his entire clan. Wu-Wudi of the human race, this bastard must die. Otherwise, the hatred in my heart will not be appeased. This person is a great enemy of our abyss. If we don't get rid of him, our abyss will not be able to conquer the modern realm. When I get back, I'll regroup and come up with a plan to destroy Wu-Wudi. But what should we do with these sages of the mythical beasts? Are you going to let them go? We can't not let them go. The great heavenly demon formation has already been destroyed and can no longer trap these sages. If we continue to delay here, I'm afraid the reinforcements of the races of the universe will arrive. Indeed, now is not the time for the abyss and the modern realm to start a full-scale war. We are not fully prepared yet, so it is not suitable to have a full-scale conflict with them now. We can only give up for now. This group of divine beasts got off lightly this time. Next time, we will definitely destroy them all. The abyssal emperors were filled with murderous intent. They looked deeply at the group of divine beasts, and their figures flashed as they entered the void. One by one, they disappeared in the void. They're finally gone. The sages of the divine beasts, who had been wary of the abyssal emperors, could not help but heave a sigh of relief. To be honest, even the remaining 30 abyssal emperors gave them great pressure. After all, if they really fought, the sages below the invincible realm would probably suffer heavy casualties. They could not withstand the power of sages who had reached the invincible realm. At this moment, the group of abyssal emperors retreated in the face of difficulties and did not choose to continue attacking them. This could be considered a good thing. At least, they would not suffer heavy losses again. They naturally hated these demons from the abyss, but they were currently weaker than them, so they could only bear with it for now. Phew. At this moment, a saint of the Qilin clan could not help but sigh. Fortunately, that human Wu-Wudi appeared and provoked the sacred remains. Otherwise, I'm afraid we would have been completely annihilated by the abyss. Many sages nodded. Although the appearance of the sacred remains had killed many sages, compared to being completely annihilated, such a loss was still negligible. It could be said that the appearance of the sacred remains had indirectly saved their lives. Bullshit. Next to him, a saint of the dragon clan cursed. What do you mean fortunately for that Wu-Wudi appeared? That bastard is a thief, a liar, and a shameless thief. Not only did he sneak into our dragon realm and steal one of our supreme inheritances, but he also took the opportunity to sneak into our ranks. Even the creation pool was stolen by him. In order to cause trouble, that bastard even released the sacred remains. I don't know how many of our sages have died because of him, but you still have to be grateful to him? I should be grateful to his 18 generations of ancestors. Its hatred for Wu Wuti had reached the point where it was grinding its teeth. The sages of the other races twitched their mouths. They naturally knew why the Dragon Clan sages were so angry. Previously, they thought that Wu Wuti was one of them. The creation pool had been stolen by the Dragon Clan, and the Dragon Clan had gained the upper hand this time. However, they did not expect that the creation pool had not fallen into the hands of the Dragon Clan, but into the hands of the Human Clan. That bastard had even swaggered into the Dragon Realm and stolen the inheritance of the invisible Dragon Theodore in front of everyone. One could imagine the losses that the Dragon Clan had suffered. It was simply indescribable. The Dragon Clan sages' hatred for Xia Ping was obvious. They wanted nothing more than to capture Wu Wuti and beat him up to compensate for their losses. This time, I must protest to the Human Clan and ask them to hand over Wu Wuti. Otherwise, the Dragon Clan will not let the Human Clan off. Just you wait. The Dragon Clan sage gritted his teeth and decided to complain to the Human Clan. He wanted the Human Clan to personally deal with that little thief Wu Wuti. Even if they could not succeed, they had to make the Human Clan compensate for the Dragon Clan's losses. Otherwise, the Dragon Clan's losses this time would be too great. They would not have obtained any treasures at all. Chapter 25-45. It didn't take long before the Abyssal Kings and the sages of the divine beast races left this place. At this moment, a figure walked out from the depths of the void. It was Xia Ping. Just now, he had used the power of the formless mask to conceal his aura and hide in the void to watch the show. None of the sages had discovered his existence. I didn't expect it to end like this. But that heavenly punishment is really powerful. Xia Ping sighed. This was the first time he truly felt the terror of the universe's source law. It was no wonder that many divine beast races hid in their own worlds and didn't dare to come out casually. It was just that billions of eras had passed, and the suppression of the universe's source law on these divine beasts had probably lessened a lot. If it had been in the primordial era, it would probably have been struck to death by tribulation lightning. Clearly, the power of this god's corpse surpassed the limits of the universe's source law and was forcibly expelled. He didn't know where the god's corpse had been taken. Forget it. These things are too far away. I'd better leave this place first. Xia Ping felt that it wasn't appropriate for him to continue staying in this place. Moreover, he didn't have the qualifications to deal with the matters of the gods for the time being. It was better to put it aside for now. The most important thing for him now was to improve his cultivation and use up the huge harvest he had gained from entering the eternal light boundary. Boom. But at this moment, a silent ripple appeared in the depths of the void. A graceful figure instantly appeared in front of Xia Ping. She was tall and beautiful, and her entire body emitted an extremely mature aura, like a ripe apple. This was a beautiful woman with a graceful figure and endless charm. She had a pair of dragon horns on her head, and it seemed as if the moment she appeared, the surrounding time and space seemed to stand still. Seeing this woman appear, Xia Ping's hair stood on end. He felt as if he had encountered great danger. He felt that this mysterious woman had clearly come for him. Moreover, this woman's power was clearly extraordinary, far surpassing that of the primordial sages. She was probably comparable to the Abyssal Kings, or perhaps even stronger. The human race's Wu Wuti, after spending so much time, I finally found you. The beautiful woman giggled. Just now, there was a detestable old man around, so it wasn't convenient for me to appear. But now that he has left, I can chat with you. Who are you? Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He did not expect that his whereabouts would be seen through by a mysterious woman. She was actually able to guess that he had not left. Who am I? Shouldn't you be very clear about this? My intrinsic Dharma treasure, the primordial heavenly dragon talisman, was snatched away by you and completely refined, right? The stunning woman smiled as she looked at Xia Ping. She moved closer to Xia Ping in an instant, showing off her perfect figure without holding back. You're the dragon scientist, Titania? Upon hearing this, Xia Ping immediately thought of the famous demoness of the Dragon Clan. She was a wanted criminal in the universe, a super powerful existence who had not been killed even after being chased by dozens of invincible sages. In fact, he had dealt with the ruins left behind by the dragon Titania several times, and had gained a certain degree of benefits. It could be said that he was inextricably linked to this demoness. He couldn't help but take a step back. That's right, I'm Titania. Do you know that I've been looking for you for a very long time? Ever since your debut until today, I've always been very interested in your secrets. Titania stared at Xia Ping with her beautiful watery eyes. She bit her coquettish red lips lightly, as if revealing the unique fanaticism of a scientist. I don't have any secrets, don't misunderstand. Xia Ping looked around, looking for a chance to escape. No secrets? Hearing this, Titania giggled. You can't hide it from me. Your bloodline is not ordinary. Not only do you have the bloodline of the human race, but you also have the bloodline of the gods. Such a bloodline is indescribably precious. It seems to be even more powerful than the ancestral dragon bloodline. It contains great mysteries of the gods. Just thinking about it is enough to make one excited. Her beautiful eyes lit up as if she wanted nothing more than to dissect Xia Ping. A mysterious and profound energy wrapped around Xia Ping, trying to analyze something. Is that so? I don't have any bloodline. You've misunderstood. Xia Ping's figure flashed, wanting to teleport away. But Titania followed him like a shadow. There was no way to get rid of him. Wait, this isn't your real body, but just a clone projection? Xia Ping's pupils constricted. He quickly realized that something was wrong with Titania. If she really was an invincible saint, she could capture him in one move. There was no need for her to follow him like this. He used the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell and finally saw the flaw. To be honest, before he used the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell, he really couldn't find the flaw. This kind of clone projection technique was enough to pass off as the real one. Even he was almost fooled. Oh, I've been discovered so quickly? That's right, this is just a clone projection from billions of light years away. After all, my real body is doing a very important and interesting experiment, so I can't come for now. But if I know there's a chance to find Wu Wudi's real body, I'll come even if I have to give up the experiment. What a pity. Titania showed a look of pity. So that was it. Hearing this, Xia Ping heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't her real body, everything would be easy. At least he didn't have to worry about being captured by this demoness. But are you interested in having a child with me? Titania blinked her beautiful eyes and made her request very sincerely. She wasn't joking at all. What? Xia Ping. He had always been the one flirting with women. Now he was the one being flirted with. I have the bloodline of the ancestral dragon in me and my husband's divine bloodline. If we combine the two, what kind of descendant will be born? I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe he'll become the strongest god in this era. Let's work together to create the strongest person in this era. Titania's beautiful eyes shone brightly. Her pretty face was flushed, as if she was excited. She was simply too beautiful. She directly called Xia Ping her husband. But in Xia Ping's eyes, this woman was a pervert. No need, I won't do such a thing. Xia Ping threw a punch, and with a thud, this terrifying punch containing the power of space and time instantly pierced through Titania's avatar projection, creating a large hole in it. He flatly refused Titania's request. Third sect leader. Chapter 2546. Ayaya, you're such a boorish man, but I like energetic male animals like you. In the world of living things, males are always full of power, protectiveness, and fighting. Only then can a race survive and give birth to strong offspring. Titania giggled. Xia Ping's punch did not cause her any harm. With just a thought, the hole in her body healed as if she had not been hurt at all. She didn't seem to be angry at Xia Ping's actions. Instead, she revealed a look of admiration. Her beautiful face revealed a slight blush. As expected, I like you more and more. Only someone like you is worthy of my genes and can give birth to the greatest offspring. With a swoosh, Titania appeared behind Xia Ping and hugged him from behind. her perfect body pressed tightly against his, and he could feel the perfect touch. Even though Xia Ping was used to being surrounded by flowers, he could not help but shiver. She was definitely a witch. What do you want? Xia Ping gritted his teeth. He did not attack again because he knew it would be useless. This was just Titania's spiritual projection. Even if he destroyed it, Titania would instantly create another clone. What do I want to do? Was I not clear enough just now? Titania said. I won't agree to such a thing. You should just give up on it. Xia Ping said resolutely. Did you refuse? What a pity. But you have no right to refuse. Don't worry, I will find you again soon. When that time comes, I will make you have 8 or 10 children with me. Moreover, I don't need your feelings, I only need your body. Titania giggled. With a swoosh, her clone projection quickly disappeared into the depths of the void. Big trouble. Xia Ping was speechless when he sensed that Titania's clone projection had completely disappeared. He knew that he had gotten into huge trouble this time. Without a doubt, Titania was a super hooligan, and a very shameless one at that. He vaguely sensed that there seemed to be an indestructible thread of karma between him and Titania. No matter how he tried to escape, he could not. No, I must not be caught by this woman. Otherwise, I will definitely be used as a test subject. Xia Ping clenched his fists as a deep sense of danger surged from the depths of his heart. Without a doubt, if he was caught by Titania, he would become a stud horse and be exploited by her day and night as a test subject. Moreover, with his current strength of the middle-stage Middle Ancient Realm, he would not be able to contend with this invincible realm saint for the time being. As a man, how could he allow himself to be bullied by a woman like this? System, why didn't you notice Titania's arrival? Xia Ping asked. Host, this woman does not have any killing intent or hatred towards the host. She does not pose any threat to the host's life, so the system is unable to detect her. The system said. This. Xia Ping was speechless. He had also noticed a flaw in the system. It would only react when the enemy had killing intent or hatred towards him. However, if there was no hatred or killing intent, then there was no way to test it. Therefore, the system was unable to detect anything when Titania arrived by his side in an instant. However, congratulations to the host. This time, the host has offended a large number of Abyss Kings and many saints of the Divine Beast clan, causing them to hate the host so much that they want to kill the host. This caused a monstrous hatred. This time, the host has obtained a total of 8,000 hatred crystals. The system said. What? 8,000 hatred crystals? Hearing this, Xia Ping could not help but be shocked. Even though he knew that he would definitely obtain a lot of hatred crystals this time, he did not expect it to reach the level of 8,000 hatred crystals. One had to know that 8,000 hatred crystals was equivalent to 800 billion hatred points, which was many times more than the hatred points he had obtained in the past combined. Previously, in order to refine the eternal clock, he had spent a total of 1,000 hatred crystals, which made his heart ache. He did not expect that he would be able to recoup his losses in an instant, and even make a huge profit. So far, excluding the ones he had used before, he had a total of 8,530 hatred crystals on him, which was not far from 10,000 hatred crystals. Hearing the system's words, Xia Ping was in a much better mood. His actions this time had not been in vain. Even if he did not obtain the eternal clock, just getting the 8,000 hatred crystals would be worth it. If it was a normal time, it would take a lot of effort to obtain hatred points. It seems that I'm not far from 10,000 hatred crystals. I wonder what kind of big gift pack I will get after reaching 10,000 hatred crystals? To be honest, Xia Ping was looking forward to it. Every big gift pack from the system was an incredible treasure, a treasure that was difficult to buy even in the hatred realm. Of course, the most important thing was that it was free, and he did not need to consume the hatred crystals on him. Forget it, I'd better leave this place quickly. Otherwise, if Titania's real body catches up to me, then I'll be in big trouble. Xia Ping immediately eliminated the aura on his body and left the place in an instant. At this moment, deep in space and time, in a secret plane world, This place had been transformed into a super laboratory filled with a large number of experimental equipment. On the experimental table, huge abyss demons were placed, at least with the strength of the archaic realm, and even invincible realm abyss kings. They were captured one by one and placed here as specimens. If any abyss demons saw this scene, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. Titania, who was wearing a white coat and a pair of glasses, exuded the aura of an intellectual beauty, but at this moment, she sensed something and received the information sent back by the projection avatar. Ayaya, I didn't expect to actually find that human Wu-Woody. I'm so lucky. No, I'm so unlucky that I didn't go with my real body. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to catch that little cutie. Titania revealed a vexed expression, but she soon felt relieved. Forget it, it's not like I didn't gain anything this time. I finally saw the real body of that human Wu-Woody. As I expected, this person has the bloodline of a god, and can be said to be a young god. If I can capture him, I will definitely be able to gain insight into some of the secrets of a god. If I can have children with him, then wouldn't I be able to give birth to a god? This is really wonderful, but this matter must be done quickly. Otherwise, according to that little guy's growth rate, it will be very difficult to capture him if he grows further. A dangerous light flashed in her beautiful eyes. Chapter 2547. A few days later, the news that the Abyssal Monarchs had set up a trap and were planning to trap and kill all the mythological beast races spread throughout the universe in no time. All the major races in the universe knew about this, and the entire world was shocked. What? When did so many Abyssal Kings appear in the modern universe? Why didn't we discover them before? How did they break through our Abyssal seal? A saint was shocked when he heard the news. He suspected that there was something wrong with the seal. No, there's nothing wrong with our Abyssal seal. It's just that as an Abyssal King, as long as we pay a sufficient price, we'll always be able to break through the seal. After all, the seal isn't perfect. Some sages shook their heads, feeling that this was nothing out of the ordinary. However, the Abyss has actually set up such a plan. I really don't know how many eras it has been planned. It's probably to trap and kill a large number of saints of the divine beast race. If they succeed, the consequences will be unimaginable. A few saints were shaken. They immediately sensed the wild ambitions of the Abyss demons. Moreover, their methods were completely different from the archaic era. They were smarter and more cunning. They didn't plan to fight them head-on. In this way, the threat of the Abyss demons was even greater. In the primordial era, the reason why the myriad races were able to win the war against the Abyss was because of these divine beasts. They contributed a lot, and many died in battle. If the Abyss succeeded in their plan, they would lose dozens of invincible sages and countless ancient sages. It would be a huge blow to the modern universe. In the future war between the Dark Abyss and the modern world, the scales of victory would tip in favor of the Dark Abyss. The Abyss is becoming more and more cunning and shameless. They have learned their lesson and are constantly weakening our high-end combat power in the modern realm. A sage's expression was solemn. I can guarantee that this is definitely not the only plan of the Abyss demons. Their plans are spread throughout the entire universe. It's just that they haven't been exposed yet. We have to be extremely careful. The threat of the Abyss is not to be underestimated. Once a war breaks out, our modern universe will probably face a threat even more terrifying than the primordial era. He felt that this was just the beginning. You're right. We can't continue fighting. Otherwise, the Abyss will destroy us one by one. We must search the entire universe for traces of the Abyss demons. We can't let them continue to act recklessly. Strengthen the seal of the Abyss. We can't let these Abyssal demons leave the Abyss as they wish. The sages of all the major races had reached a consensus. Although there were deep conflicts between them, and there were even conflicts of interest, all grudges could be temporarily put aside when compared to the great enemy that was the Abyss. After all, if the Abyss succeeded, all their races would perish in this universe. This was a matter of life and death, and they knew what was important. However, the The reason why the Abyss plan failed was because of the human clan's Saint Wu Wudi. Is that guy the human clan's secret weapon? He's always causing trouble everywhere. I've heard of his reputation many times over the years. A saint mentioned the name of the human race's Wu Wudi. To be honest, Wu Wudi's name had shaken the entire universe, and countless sages knew of him. After all, the reason why the Divine Beast clans had not been assassinated by the Abyssal Demons was all because of Wu Wudi. That had caused the Abyssal Demons' plan to fail. Therefore, it was impossible for these sages to not know Wu Wudi. Even the most ignorant sage had heard of Wu Wudi at this moment. This matter has already been denied by the human clan. Their higher-ups think that Wu Wudi is a parasite from the human clan, a scum. Everything that he has done has nothing to do with the human clan. One of the saints said, "In fact, ever since this guy became famous, he has been committing all sorts of crimes and stirring up trouble everywhere he goes. Many saints from various races have died in his hands, but until now, no one knows his true identity and background." He mentioned a series of bad things that Wu Wudi had done since his debut. Damn, this bastard is a villain. He's even more despicable than the Abyss demons. However, this guy's growth rate is too fast. How long has it been? He actually went from a mortal to the Middle Ages Saint realm. What did he do? A sage was shocked, feeling that Wu Wudi's growth rate was too fast. After all, to a sage, a few years or even a decade was nothing more than a nap. However, Wu Wudi had actually grown from a mortal to the Middle Ages Saint realm. This was enough to shock countless sages in the universe, making them curious about Wu Wudi's secret. I'm not sure. Now, many sages are curious about this kid's secret. They think that he must have a cosmic treasure on him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to grow so quickly. His cultivation speed is like the speed of light, without any bottlenecks to speak of. A sage's eyes revealed a greedy look. And let's not talk about the unknown secrets on him. Even the known secrets are coveting. It said that he entered the Eternal Light realm and obtained the Khanate treasure creation pool. Just the value of this Khanate treasure is enough to make countless races go crazy. What? The Khanate treasure creation pool? Hearing this, many sages were shocked. Naturally, they knew how powerful the Khanate treasure creation pool was. Even the Divine Beast clan yearned for this treasure. If the peak races obtained this treasure, their entire race's strength would probably double. Moreover, as time passed, the gap in strength would only grow larger. Even if it was for this treasure, it would not be too much to start a race war. Fortunately, that Wu Wudi is a traitor of the human clan. Otherwise, if the Khanate treasure creation pool fell into the hands of the human clan, wouldn't the human clan be able to ascend to the heavens? Some sages rejoiced. He might not be a traitor of the human clan. Perhaps the upper echelons of the human clan and Wu Wudi are putting on a show. I don't believe that the human clan doesn't know this person's true identity. But the human clan denies it, and we don't have any evidence. In any case, we need to keep an eye on the human clan's every move. If we find any traces of the Khanate treasure creation pool, we need to get the human clan to hand it over immediately. Such a treasure should be shared with the entire universe. That's right. If the human clan wants to come out on top, don't even think about it. That's right. Especially with the abyssal demons invading the universe, any treasure should be shared with the other races. Otherwise, it would destroy the unity. But after saying so much, if we can't prove that Wu Wudi has fallen into the hands of the human clan, we have no reason to force him to abdicate. It looks like we still need solid evidence to make the human clan submit. Otherwise, they will definitely deny it. The sages of the various races discussed, their eyes shining. They were determined to obtain the Khanate treasure creation pool. They could not let it fall into the hands of any of the peak races. Third Sect Master. Chapter 2548. At that moment, the Dragon Elders also went to the human sacred lands to protest, demanding that the war criminal Wu Wudi be handed over, as well as the Khanate treasure creation pool that he had stolen. However, this request was rejected by the human saints. They said that although Wu Wudi might be human, he had nothing to do with the human race. Moreover, this was an individual act. In fact, the human race was also hunting Wu Wuti. The dragon elders were infuriated. They protested again and again, but there was nothing they could do. In the end, they could only return dejectedly. In the previous era of the universe, they might have been able to suppress the human race. But in this era, the dragon race was suppressed by the universe's source. It was difficult for the true high-level combat power to unleash their full power. If they overdid it, they would be punished by the universe's source. This was a taboo. Therefore, they could not leave the dragon realm to fight everywhere. They could only be trapped in the dragon realm. But who is this Wu Wuti? I didn't expect him to cause such a ruckus. Even the Khanate treasure creation pool was taken by him. No wonder the divine beasts of the dragon race are so angry that they came to protest without a care for their reputation. A saint laughed. I'm not sure. It seems that the upper echelons have not figured out his true identity. A temple elder shook his head, indicating that he did not know Wu Wuti's identity either. How can they not know? It's said that Wu Wuti once entered the universe virtual network and left behind some information. It's impossible that the upper echelons of the human race do not know Wu Wuti's true identity. It's just that this information has been suppressed by the big shots. Only the invincible saints know. The other saints are not qualified. An elder narrowed his eyes, revealing a glimmer of light. In fact, he had tried to apply for permission to the Universe Virtual Network to investigate Wu Wuti's identity, but it had been blocked. It was said that Wu Wuti's identity was highly confidential. Even a primordial saint like him had no right to investigate. It seems that Wu Wuti's identity is not simple. The level of confidentiality is so high. This is no small matter. But this is good. This proves that Wu Wuti is indeed a member of the human race. Otherwise, the patriarchs would not have protected his identity so much and valued him so much. But this matter cannot be leaked. We must maintain a unified statement. The other peak races cannot find an excuse to deal with the human race. They are always eyeing us covetously. That is indeed the case. Even though the pre-celestial pool of fortunes is a great treasure, we still need to protect it. If the other peak-level races were to put pressure on us, we might not be able to protect such a treasure. Many human saints discussed among themselves. At this moment, in the holy land of the human race, the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, Empyrean Ancestral Master, Yuanshi Ancestral Master, and Dark North Ancestral Master also gathered together. Dark North, I didn't expect your disciple to be so powerful. He caused such a huge commotion in such a short period of time, and he even dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. In front of so many divine beast clans, the Abyss Kings, and even that old bastard Samuel was there, he still came out on top and snatched away the Khanate treasure creation pool. It was the Xiaoyao Ancestral Master who spoke, and he was in a good mood. In fact, Xia Ping's identity as Wu Wuti had long been exposed. There was no way he could hide it from these human race patriarchs who controlled the universe virtual network. As long as they investigated the records of logging into the universe virtual network and their identities, they would be able to find out the specific identity of every human. In front of them, there was no such thing as a fake identity. Of course, what Xia Ping did might be a big deal to ordinary forces and races, but to these human race patriarchs who had lived for hundreds of millions of eras and reached the peak of the universe, it was just a piece of cake. They could even tolerate demonic Tao figures who killed people like flies and did all kinds of evil. How could they not tolerate these trivial things? As long as they didn't betray the human race, they were a part of the human race. Therefore, even though they knew that Wu Wuti's true identity was Xia Ping, they didn't say anything or do anything. They even helped to cover up Xia Ping's identity and didn't let other saints besides them investigate. After all, the human race was too big. Occasionally, there might be some traitors who revealed Wu Wuti's true identity. This was something they had to be wary of. However, what made them feel more at ease about Xia Ping was that Xia Ping was the personal disciple of Patriarch North Dark. He was upright and had a clean background, so there wouldn't be any problems. This is indeed out of my expectations. I didn't expect him to grow so fast. How long has it been? He has actually comprehended the law of time and ascended to the middle ancient saint realm. The younger generation is truly worthy of respect. Patriarch North Dark was also emotional. He couldn't help but be surprised after hearing the news. He knew that even if his disciple had only cultivated for a few years, he was only at the Purple Mansion realm not long ago. Now, he had broken through repeatedly and advanced to the Middle Age Saint realm. This kind of advancement speed was simply unprecedented and rarely seen since time immemorial. It seems that he must have had many fortuitous encounters over the years. Even if he advanced so fast, his martial Dao foundation is extremely solid. It seems that he didn't advance rashly because he was greedy. Patriarch Empyrean paid attention to Xia Ping's martial Dao foundation and felt that Xia Ping's cultivation was not because he was spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. On the surface, he might have only cultivated for a dozen or so years, but he might have entered some worlds where the time flow was faster and stayed there for tens of thousands of years. Yuanshi Patriarch guessed. There were many unique and mysterious worlds in this universe. These worlds had a different time flow from the main universe. Some of them were extremely slow, 1 minute passed in a mystic realm, but 1 year passed in the main universe. Some of them were extremely fast, 10,000 years passed in a mystic realm, but only 1 year passed in the main universe. Therefore, on the surface, some cultivators seem to have only cultivated for a few years, but in fact, they had cultivated for tens of thousands of years in some mystic realms and had deep accumulations. If that's the case, then it's his fate. Xiaoyao Patriarch smiled faintly. He didn't have any thoughts about Xia Ping's fortuitous encounters. In fact, at their realm, all of them had earth-shattering fortuitous encounters. To be honest, without those fortuitous encounters, they couldn't have broken through all the obstacles and cultivated to their current realm. This was especially so for the even more monstrous Patriarch Dark North. He was the youngest saint among the patriarchs present, and the fortuitous encounters he had were also innumerable. Every single one of them was enough to make people drool and be extremely jealous. He was simply the son of destiny. But I still have to talk to him. I'm very curious about the appearance of that immortal's corpse. I don't know how much change it will bring to the universe in the future. Patriarch Empyrean's eyes lit up. Yeah, we do have to talk. Patriarch North Dark nodded. I've already contacted him on the Universe Virtual Network. Soon we can meet there. Chapter 2549. On the second day, in a virtual conference room on the Universe Virtual Network. Swoosh. At this moment, Xia Ping's figure flashed as he logged into the Universe Virtual Network and entered the virtual conference room. Oh, Master, and the Ancestral Masters? When Xia Ping appeared in the virtual conference room, he immediately saw his master, Dark North Saint, as well as Ancestral Master Emptiness, Xiaoyao Ancestral Master, and Yuanshi Ancestral Master. His master had contacted him and said that he had something to discuss with them. Ha, you're finally here. Wu Wudi, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Xiaoyao Ancestral Master laughed. It seems like the Ancestral Masters already know my other identity. Xia Ping smiled. In fact, he had guessed it deep down, so he wasn't too shocked. After all, the flaw he had left in the Universe Virtual Network was too big, and it was left when he was weak. In the network, anything that passed by would leave a trace. Therefore, how could the supreme existences who controlled the Universe Virtual Network not know his true identity? However, at their level, they didn't need to care about these small things. But this time was different. He had entered the eternal light plane, where gods fell. At the same time, a large group of Abyss Kings and many saints of the God-Beast clan died. This incident was enough to shake the universe, and even the human ancestral masters couldn't ignore it. Obviously, they thought Xia Ping was qualified to be on equal footing with them. Not bad. You're still so calm even after knowing your identity is exposed. You have a good mentality. You're made for great things. Yuanshi Ancestral Master stroked his white beard and said in appreciation, I wonder why the patriarchs have summoned me here today? Xia Ping asked curiously. If he had angered the Ancestral Masters because of something he had done, He wouldn't meet them in the universe virtual network. Instead, he would be captured by the human ancestral masters themselves. It's simple. We want to know what happened to the eternal light plane and what's up with that god corpse. Xiaoyao ancestral master said in a deep voice. As soon as he said that, the other patriarchs nodded in agreement. To them, nothing was more important than the matters of the gods. This would greatly affect the structure of the entire universe and even themselves. Now, a god's corpse had appeared in the modern universe, and it had even started a massacre, triggering the wrath of heaven. This made them feel as if something incredible was happening, as if this matter would move the gears of fate. Perhaps this would be the beginning of the gods. So that's how it is. Upon hearing this, Xia Ping's expression relaxed quite a bit. These things were actually not that big of a deal, and there was nothing to hide. It was just that he could not casually reveal the fact that he had obtained the divine artifact, the eternal clock. Therefore, he only said that he entered the eternal light realm and accidentally broke into the origin star. He accidentally destroyed the restrictive formation inside and caused the immortal's corpse to wake up. In order to survive, he had to flee. This was why so many abyssal monarchs and divine beast saints had died. I really don't know what to say about your luck. Patriarch Kong Kong was speechless. If those dead abyssal emperors could hear this, they would realize that they had been killed by a rash young man who had unintentionally released the god's corpse into their graves. If they knew about this, they would definitely be angered to death again. This was simply an undeserved calamity. Without Xia Ping, this hothead, such a thing wouldn't have happened at all. The other human patriarchs' mouths also twitched. They could only lament that those abyssal monarchs were too unlucky. Millions of years of planning had succeeded today. Who would have thought that someone would come out of nowhere and accidentally release the god's corpse, which had been sleeping for countless years? As a result, the abyss's many years of planning had been destroyed, and the abyss's painstaking efforts had been destroyed in a day. This was really the case of man proposes, but God disposes. At this moment, they could all feel that fate was a joke. No one knew what would happen tomorrow. But to kill this god's corpse, even the world destruction black coffin was mobilized. It seems that this is no small matter. This god's corpse is not an ordinary corpse. It must have been an extremely powerful god when it was alive. Indeed, I don't know if the awakening of this god's corpse is a sign. If it is, then it will be a little troublesome. We still have to go to the Forbidden Darkness area to observe. I feel that there seems to be an ominous sign in this god's grave. Many human patriarchs discussed. They did not care about Xia Ping and revealed some information. Xia Ping was very obedient. He was just a small shrimp and could not casually participate in the patriarch's conversation. It was better to remain transparent. 1 hour later, the patriarch's discussion finally ended. Okay, this matter ends here. But how do you solve the problem that you obtained the Khanate fortune pool? The Xiaoyao ancestral master looked at Xia Ping with a smile. Do the patriarchs want to steal my fortune pool? Xia Ping looked at the patriarchs warily. Who would steal something from a junior like you? We won't do such a despicable thing. The human clan has many treasures, and your fortune pool is nothing to be scoffed at. Of course, if you're willing to hand it over, it'll be a different matter. The Xiaoyao ancestral master said with a sly smile. Don't even think about it. Xia Ping said in disdain, thinking that the patriarchs wanted to cheat him of his fortune pool. Okay, I'm just joking with you. Even if you really hand over the fortune pool, we won't take it for now. The Khanate fortune pool is too important, and it's being eyed by all the races in the universe. Empyrean ancestral master said in a deep voice, if the other races find out that we have the fortune pool, I'm afraid they'll join forces to pressure us. By then, we humans might not be able to keep it. He thought that although the Khanate fortune pool was good, the human clan didn't have the power to resist the pressure from all the races in the universe. Then what do you want? Xia Ping thought that the patriarchs didn't bring up this matter just for this purpose. Let's make a deal. Yuanshi ancestral masters smiled faintly. I know that the Khanate fortune pool can continuously produce a large amount of fortune essence, but the most precious thing isn't the fortune essence but the liquid of fortune. It's a rare treasure in the universe, and it's very useful even for invincible sages. You definitely won't be able to use so many of them, but you can take them out and trade with us. We humans also have many treasures, and I guess you also need them. What do you think? Of course, if you don't want to, then forget about what we said. He made his suggestion. No problem. As long as you have enough treasures, you can have as much liquid of fortune as you want. Hearing this, Xia Ping was relieved. The patriarchs didn't want his treasures and only wanted to trade with him for the liquid of fortune, which would be of great benefit to him. After all, he had countless liquid of fortune, and it would be great if he could trade them for other treasures. Chapter 2550. A few days later, in the world of the classic of mountains and seas. A few days after the discussion with the human race patriarchs, Xia Ping had already handed over the matter of the liquid of fortune to Green Ox and Corinne to deal with. They were all old antiques who had lived for many years and could be said to be cunning. They naturally knew the preciousness of the liquid of fortune and that it could maximize the benefits. Of course, they were all brothers of the human race. For the development of the human race, it was impossible for him to cheat his own people. Naturally, he would give some preferential treatment, which would be of considerable benefit to everyone. At this moment, Xia Ping was studying the magic treasure he had obtained, the divine artifact, the eternal clock. Originally, with his current ability, it was almost impossible to completely refine the eternal clock, but with the power of the system, he was able to forcibly refine it. But this way, he knew that this divine artifact was damaged during the great shattering of the universe, and the degree of damage was extremely high, almost reaching 2/3 of the original. If he wanted to repair it, he would have to pay a great price and spend a lot of time. System, if I want to repair this divine artifact, the eternal clock, what do I need to do? Xia Ping asked. The host needs to obtain a large number of cosmic ores with space-time laws, such as the space-time heart, time fragments, and so on. If there are enough treasures containing the power of space-time laws for the eternal clock to devour, it can speed up the recovery. The system replied. So that's how it is. Xia Ping nodded. The problem was that minerals containing the power of space-time laws were too rare, and each of them was a priceless item in the universe. Such treasures could not be bought even with money. They were usually kept by the side of the saints and would never be easily leaked to avoid attracting the covetous eyes of others. Moreover, such treasures could not be restored with just one or two of them. It required a large number of time fragments. The number needed was definitely an astronomical figure, the kind that would make people despair. It was no wonder that the repair of every divine artifact required the full support of the entire race, because the resources consumed to repair a divine artifact were not something that an individual could bear. Even if an invincible saint were to go bankrupt, he would probably not be able to repair much of it. Fortunately, it is a divine artifact. Even if it is damaged, it is still much more powerful than a peerless saint artifact. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. After he completely refined the eternal clock, he finally understood the many abilities of the eternal clock. Ability 1, Space-Time Backtrack. Within the range of the eternal clock's space-time domain, any matter will return to its original state after 3 days, even if it encounters destructive damage. After seeing this ability, Xia Ping was very excited. This was because even though the eternal clock was in a shattered state, its space-time domain could easily cover the entire world of the classic of mountains and seas. Enveloped by such a space-time domain, even if this world was invaded by enemies and suffered great damage, it would return to its original state in 3 days. It could be said that he could destroy the mountains and rivers of the classic of mountains and seas without worrying about the classic of mountains and seas world being completely damaged. This was equivalent to strengthening the internal defenses of the classic of mountains and seas world. This also made the classic of mountains and seas an unbreakable internal battlefield. If it was at its peak, it could even reverse the time in a living being's body back to its infancy, completely sealing the enemy's strength. This was like the power of a god. Ability 2, Space-Time Freeze. Can release a time domain, completely stopping the flow of space-time around the enemy. The weaker the enemy is, the longer it will be frozen. The stronger the enemy is, the shorter the time it will be frozen. If the enemy's strength far exceeded the host's, or if the enemy had special abilities, the power of space-time freeze would be ineffective. It could be said that if this ability was used, it would definitely catch the enemy off guard and kill them instantly. It could create unimaginable strange effects. Ability 3. Space-time acceleration. Within the eternal clock's domain, the host can increase the speed of space-time within the domain. 10,000 years in the domain would be equivalent to only 1 year in the outside world. This ability is not bad. Xia Ping's eyes immediately lit up. In fact, after advancing to the sage realm, the time he would need to go into seclusion was getting longer and longer. It was possible that a single meditation could pass for hundreds or even thousands of years. He had already become numb to the perception of time. If he were to cultivate within the eternal clock's domain, he would be able to save a lot of time. Although his space-time laws could also do this, the problem was that he was unable to accelerate the flow of time at such a fast speed. Secondly, it would also consume a lot of magic power, so he would not be able to maintain it for long. Such an ability could only be used for an instant in battle and could not be used for a long time. Of course, cultivation was one aspect. The most important thing was to use it to plant sage herbs. Ordinary spirit herbs would take at least thousands or tens of thousands of years to mature. Some would even take millions of years. Such a period of time was simply too long. However, within such a domain of time, he could speed up the maturation of spirit herbs and not waste time. A sage herb that took 1,000,000 years to mature might only take 100 years in the outside world. This way, he would be able to plant a large number of spirit herbs, allowing the classic of mountains and seas to continuously produce a large number of sage herbs. Ability 3. Space-time deceleration. Within the eternal clock's domain, the flow of space-time would slow down. 1 year in the domain might be equivalent to 10,000 years in the outside world. This is not bad either. Xia Ping nodded. In fact, this ability was very suitable for saving those who were on the verge of death. If they could not find a way to save these people in a short period of time, they might die in a few days or years. However, if they were in the domain of space-time deceleration, then the people in the outside world could spend a lot of time to find a way to save the patients without worrying about them dying quickly. Of course, apart from this, it also had more uses in combat. The eternal clock is indeed very powerful. Xia Ping was extremely emotional. This was just the eternal clock in a damaged state. The eternal clock at its peak still had more powers that it had yet to display. Even so, such an ability was enough to make the sages in the entire universe drool. If the other sages were to find out that he had such a divine artifact on him, they would probably all want to find him and kill him completely to snatch the treasure. I'll first spread the power of the eternal clock to the entire world of the classic of mountains and seas. At the thought of this, Xia Ping did not hesitate. He circulated his extremely massive magical powers and channeled them into the eternal clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. In an instant, the huge black and white clock above his head started to tick. Suddenly, a mysterious and powerful space-time power instantly enveloped the entire world of the classic of mountains and seas. At this moment, the world of the classic of mountains and seas seemed to have undergone an earth-shattering change. The space-time laws in this place were instantly permeated and completely dominated by the eternal clock. It was as if the world of the classic of mountains and seas had turned into an independent world. Chapter 2551. Several months later, the invisible palace was flying slowly in the cosmic void. It had already left the direction of the dragon realm and was flying aimlessly in the universe. Meanwhile, Xia Ping stayed in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, cultivating in seclusion to increase his cultivation base. During this period of time, he had successfully increased his magic power to the peak of the middle stage ancient middle realm. He was just one step away from stepping into the late stage ancient middle realm. Of course, his biggest gain during this period of time was that he had finally condensed his third clone, Gaia's clone. To be honest, it took him a lot of time to condense this clone. Even though he had the real Gaia bloodline by his side, the amount of energy and soul power required was still beyond his imagination. However, when he finally condensed Gaia's clone successfully, he finally understood why Gaia was a unique super creature in this universe era. First of all, when Gaia was born, it would receive the love and attention of the universe's origin. It could communicate with the energy of the universe's origin at all times and receive an endless infusion of cosmic essence. This also caused it to have almost no bottlenecks in its growth. It was improving almost all the time, and its growth speed was much faster than that of all other races. The reason why it seemed like Gaia needed billions of years to grow was because the space in its body was too huge. Therefore, the energy it accumulated would take a lot more time. If Gaia was only the size of a human, it would probably be able to advance from a mortal to the saint realm in a few years. However, this would also allow Gaia to have a stronger foundation. Its combat power could be said to be invincible among those of the same level. Even if it did not know any martial arts techniques, it could easily kill a strong enemy with brute force. As expected of Gaia, Xia Ping was also secretly impressed. In fact, he had learned many secrets about the universe from the Dragon Clan. Clearly, there were unique creatures in the universe in every era. For example, in the previous universe era, the creatures that were favored by the universe were the Dragon Clan, the Kirin Clan, the Black Tortoise Clan, and other Divine Beast clans. They had amazing talent and were favored by the universe, so they improved at lightning speed. That was why they could become the overlord race of the universe. However, everything had its pros and cons. Since they were favored by the universe, they would definitely be the first to bear the brunt of the universe's disaster and would suffer the greatest damage. However, Gaia's ability is not limited to just this. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. In fact, every Gaia was born with extremely powerful nomological powers. Such nomological powers were almost the essence of the universe. They naturally learned them, just like breathing. Basically, one didn't need to cultivate much to easily grasp it and reach the acme of perfection. Of course, different Gaias grew up in different environments, so the divine power laws they comprehended were also different. Some Gaia lived in a world of ice and snow. Its planet itself was covered in ice and snow, so it had mastered the laws of ice and snow. Some Gaia lived in blazing lava, and their planets had many supervolcanoes. That meant they had mastered the laws of Fire series god art. If there were lightning stars, then it would be a bloodline ability that grasped the laws of lightning. As for Gaia like little Dumbo, he was plagued with disasters not long after he was born. His life was full of twists and turns, which allowed little Dumbo to obtain the disaster divine ability nomological power and control the 3 calamities and 6 disasters. Clearly, different Gaia would have different combat strength depending on the divine power laws. However, some Gaia were not good at combat and only knew auxiliary divine powers. Thus, they were completely unable to defeat the Gaia that was purely violent. The Gaia avatar that Xia Ping had condensed was also inextricably linked to little Dumbo's bloodline. However, it was not a disaster divine ability, but a misfortune and curse divine ability. Clearly, this avatar had integrated his bloodline and little Dumbo's bloodline to comprehend such a bloodline divine ability. Such a divine ability was extremely terrifying. It was simply bad luck. At the same time, it could not be controlled and could only happen passively. Therefore, be it oneself, friends or enemies near oneself, they would all be shrouded in bad luck. Moreover, the stronger the avatar's strength, the more terrifying the power of misfortune. If it was serious, even a sage would probably choke to death when faced with such misfortune. Seems like I can't just let this Gaia avatar appear. Xia Ping was speechless. He thought he had condensed a powerful Gaia avatar, but he did not expect it to be of little value. It would harm others and himself. He could sense the horror of the power of misfortune in this Gaia avatar. It was as if a black aura of misfortune enveloped the entire body, permeating space-time in all directions, communicating with the law of fate and karma lines. This was simply a walking disaster, a human-shaped nuclear weapon, a shit-stirrer. Wherever it was placed, bad luck would befall that place. It could be called a natural disaster. Moreover, this ability was uncontrollable, as if it was the source of misfortune. It could only be triggered passively. Fortunately, the second bloodline divine ability, Curse divine ability, was controllable, which made Xia Ping feel a lot more at ease. If he had an enemy he wanted to kill, he could activate the Curse divine ability in his heart and follow the karma lines to make the enemy pay a heavy price and kill them through the air. Of course, there was a price to pay to curse the enemy. After all, everything in the universe was balanced. There were gains and losses. And such a price was one's own soul. The more powerful the enemy one wanted to kill, the more soul energy one had to pay. If he killed some weak enemies, it would not require much soul energy to curse them to death. However, if it was a strong enemy like a sage, the soul energy required would be so much that ordinary sages could not bear it. It could be said that both sides would suffer. This ability was called the Fist of Seven Damages. To hurt others, one had to hurt oneself first. However, it was not that Xia Ping could not avoid such a price. The world tree he had could condense into immortal fruits, space fruits, time fruits, and other rare fruits. In fact, these rare fruits also contained a large amount of soul energy. He could use these fruits as the price to pay for the curse. It was a one-for-one trade. However, with Xia Ping's current strength, he did not need to curse to kill the enemy. Only enemies that could not be found, or were hiding in some mysterious place, or were more difficult to deal with, would need to use the Curse divine ability. It could only be said that it could be used as a trump card and not as a regular method. This clone's Gaia space is also very special. To be honest, Xia Ping was a little speechless at this moment. It was like the Gaia space in Dumbo's body could accommodate a large number of living beings. It was a place suitable for ordinary living beings and had a pleasant scenery. However, his Gaia clone was different. The inside of the space was filled with the power of curses and misfortune. It emitted a deathly aura, like the world of hell. Ordinary living beings would die if they came in. It was impossible to live in. Chapter 2552. No, perhaps it's not that life can't be accommodated, it's just that ordinary life can't be accommodated. Suddenly, Xia Ping touched his chin and had a flash of inspiration. His Gaia space was filled with curses, death, misfortune, and other auras. Such a spatial world was impossible for ordinary people to live in. The only ones that could live in it were probably vengeful spirits, wraiths, devils, demons, and other hellish creatures that specialized in devouring resentment, death, and misfortune. Perhaps he could transform the space of his Gaia avatar into a hellish world. Moreover, Gaia's growth seemed to be closely related to the number of creatures in Gaia's body and the number of souls. Interesting. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He felt that Gaia was very special. Be it its growth method or talent, it seemed to be a reserve for God. Each Gaia was a seed of God. It seems that Gaia has its own gathering place, but I don't know where it is. In fact, this was the news that Xia Ping had heard from the dragon race. After hundreds of millions of eras, although Gaia's numbers were small in the beginning, after such a long time, many Gaias were born, and all of them were very powerful. In order to avoid being coveted by other races and to protect themselves, these Gaias also found a place to recuperate. This place was called Gaia Paradise. However, no one in the universe knew where Gaia Paradise was. Although the dragon race, Qilin race, and other races did not appear in the universe, in fact, in order to understand all kinds of information about this universe era, understand the development of this universe era, and understand the relics left behind by God in this universe, they would occasionally send their race to travel in the universe. However, ordinary people were not qualified to know such things. In fact, among the major races, there would occasionally be news of the dragon race, black tortoise race, Qilin race, and other divine beasts appearing. There were also some sages who knew where Dragon World and other places were, but they were unable to enter. The problem was that no sage knew where Gaia Paradise was. Even the invincible sage had no news. This was because Gaia were all otakus who usually liked to sleep. They would often stay in one place and sleep for hundreds of millions or even billions of years. This was actually very common. The dragon race also liked to sleep in, but the problem was that compared to Gaia, they were far inferior. They were not even on the same level. The first difference was that their lifespans were different. After all, the lifespan of every Gaia was basically endless. Unless the universe was destroyed, it was very difficult for them to die. For Gaia, there was nothing that couldn't be solved by sleep. After a nap, their strength would automatically increase. After a nap, the enemy would unknowingly reach the end of their lifespan or be killed by other enemies. After a nap, some annoying races would disappear into the river of history. Usually, after a nap, many problems would be silently solved. Hatred, enemies, and conflicts could not escape the annihilation of time. Because of this, they stayed in Gaia Paradise and rarely came out. To this day, no one knew where Gaia Paradise was. There had never been such news. Apart from the primordial era, the abyssal demons had appeared in the modern world and wanted to destroy it. This had affected their own survival, which had provoked the Gaia group to take action. They had displayed a strength that shocked all the races in the world. But other than that, no one had seen Gaia's glory. As the era was too long ago, many sages still thought that Gaia Paradise might just be a legend. There was no such thing at all. Perhaps it was fabricated by others. It seems that if there's a chance, I have to make a trip to Gaia Paradise. I wonder what treasures there are in that place. Xia Ping stroked his chin and seriously considered the feasibility of this matter. Perhaps it was impossible for other sages to find Gaia Paradise. However, he had the Khanate Dharma treasure, the wish compass. He could find everything in this universe. Finding Gaia Paradise was also very common. It was just that it was worth it for him to expend a large amount of wish power to find Gaia Paradise. After all, in order to find Planet of Genesis, he had expended a lot of wish power. He did not know how many years it would take to make up for it. Up until now, he had not found a way to quickly replenish the wish compass's wish power. At present, he could only rely on time to slowly recover and accumulate. Therefore, he was very careful every time he used it. Master! With a boom, Xia Ping's body trembled. A voice sounded in his mind. It seemed to be transmitted from an unknown number of dimensions. The owner of this voice was Corpse Beast Luna. Luna, what happened? Xia Ping raised his eyebrows. He remembered that Luna was currently staying in the Hell World. She seemed to be fighting everywhere, refining a large number of Corpse Beast avatars to speed up her evolution. Usually, she stayed in the Hell World to fight and rarely contacted him. Master seems to have killed a shadow demon Anseal. Luna's voice sounded. That's right. I did kill a shadow demon Anseal. That guy seems to be from a medium hell plane. Xia Ping nodded. He also remembered this matter. Previously, he went to a hell plane and went on a killing spree in order to fight for the hell's origin fragment. In the end, Shadow Demon Anseal actually wanted to sneak attack him. The result could be imagined. Shadow Demon Anseal was killed by him. However, this matter had happened a long time ago. If Luna did not mention it, he would have almost forgotten about it. That Shadow Demon Anseal seems to be from a medium hell plane called the Hell of Carlos. Luna said, its master is a powerful demon lord of the Hell of Carlos. His name is Aldrich. He is an ancient demon who comprehended the law of creation. How do you know so much about this matter? Did you find the Hell of Carlos? Xia Ping asked curiously. Yes, I did find the Hell of Carlos, and I also learned one thing. Luna said that ancient demon Aldrich is a vengeful demon. When he learned that Master killed his servant Anseal, he seemed to be furious and has been investigating the location of the burning hell. Just recently, Aldrich seems to have found the specific location of the burning hell. Now he is personally leading a team to destroy all the demons in the burning hell. She said that her corpse beast avatars were scattered all over the hell world. Like parasites, they floated in every hell plane and constantly searched for information. One of them happened to land in the Hell of Carlos. As a result, she learned of this news. Because Aldrich made a big fuss in the Hell of Carlos, he did not hide. Interesting. Ancient demon Aldrich? I'll kill him when he comes. Xia Ping smiled faintly. If it was before, he might have been somewhat afraid of this so-called ancient demon. However, the current ancient demon Aldrich was no longer a threat to him. Chapter 25:53. At this moment, in the depths of the void in the world of hell, a black ship was sailing at high speed. It was covered with dense hell runes and emitted a strong power of hell. It was as if the black ship was a warship, armed to the teeth. There was a huge golden skull at the bow of the ship, giving off a strange, eerie, and powerful aura. It was sailing in the void at high speed. It also had a strong concealment ability. It could also restrain its aura, so it would not be discovered by the void monsters in the depths of the void. This ship was the famous shadow of the Hell of Karloff. It was also the ride of the primordial demon Aldrich. At this moment, there were many powerful demons on the ship. If someone appeared in this place, they would definitely be able to sense that there were at least 100 medieval demons, thousands of near-ancient demons, and 100,000 immortal demons on the ship. This kind of combat power was enough to destroy any low-level plane of hell. Even in a middle-level plane of hell, this was an extremely powerful military force, not to mention that the primordial demon Aldrich was also on the ship. If this ship went to any middle-level plane of hell, it would probably cause a war, and countless demons would be afraid. At this time, in the cabin, many medieval demons had gathered together. It seemed that they were holding a banquet. Lord Aldrich. A medieval demon asked curiously, why did we mobilize so many troops to that low-level plane of hell? Even Lord Aldrich is personally taking action. Isn't this looking down on the demon lord of that low-level plane of hell too much? Many demons nodded. In fact, they also did not understand why Aldrich would mobilize so many troops and be so angry over the death of Shadow Demon Anseal. After all, demons were cold-blooded. They only cared about benefits, not emotions. They also did not believe that the primordial demon Aldrich was so angry over Anseal's death. If it was just for revenge, it would be enough to send a dozen medieval demons to that low-level plane of hell. Why would Lord Aldrich personally take action? It's normal for you to find it strange. This is a very important matter. If it is leaked in the Hell of Karloff, I'm afraid the consequences will be unimaginable. So, I need to keep it a secret. The primordial demon Aldrich laughed. Could it be that there are some treasures in that low-level plane of hell? Some of the ancient demons thought of this possibility. If there were any treasures in that lower plane of hell, perhaps it was no wonder that Sir Overlord would keep it a secret. After all, the Hell of Karloff was considered one of the most powerful planes among the intermediate planes. It was only one step away from becoming an advanced plane. Therefore, Aldrich wasn't the only primeval fiend in the Hell of Karloff. There were quite a few immemorial ancient fiend overlords as well, and they were all worthy opponents for Aldrich. If this news were to leak out, Aldrich would not be able to enjoy this secret alone. After all, it would attract the covetous eyes of other demons, which would lead to a war between demons. That inferior hell plane doesn't just have treasures. According to Anseal's information, the demon lord who occupied that inferior hell plane seems to have the bloodline of a demon god. The ancient demon Aldrich said. What? Upon hearing this, all the demons present widened their eyes in disbelief. After all, even in the higher hells, demons with the demon god's bloodline were legends. Any demon with the demon god's bloodline could grow into a terrifying demon lord in the shortest time possible. Basically, they could become the overlord of a higher hell's plane. Now, a demon with the demon god's bloodline had actually appeared in a lower plane of hell. This was really unbelievable. Very surprised, right? This is very normal. After receiving this information, I was also very surprised. However, after confirming it again and again, I still believe that this matter is true. Ancient demon Aldrich's eyes shone with a cruel light. And that demon seems to be at most in the immemorial ancient realm. It's still in the period when it was just born, so it can be considered a child. After a period of time, I'm afraid that demon with the demon god's bloodline will evolve to a level that we can't even imagine. When that time comes, I won't even be worthy of carrying his shoes. But it's different now. That demon hasn't matured yet. This is a great opportunity for me. If I can capture that demon and devour it, I can take the demon god's bloodline for myself. He clenched his fists, and a burning ambition appeared in the depths of his eyes. So that's how it is. Hearing this, many demons came to a sudden realization. They finally understood why Aldrich had mobilized so many people at all costs to come here. He didn't even want to send troops to guard his own territory. If this information was true, then if ancient demon Aldrich succeeded in devouring that demon with the demon god's bloodline, Aldrich's future would probably be limitless. Originally, with Aldrich's talent, growing to the ancient demon realm was almost the limit. After countless years, his cultivation hadn't increased at all. However, if he obtained the demon god's bloodline, then his growth would accelerate and he would break through the bottleneck. He might even have a chance to advance to the immemorial demon realm, or even the invincible demon realm. If that was the case, why would he still need territory? In the hells, strength was everything. With enough strength, one would naturally be able to occupy more and more territory and obtain more and more resources. Therefore, this time, you must do your best to work for me. When I become a demon with the demon god's bloodline, I definitely won't mistreat you. Aldrich said calmly. Yes, Overlord. Many demons' eyes flickered, and they all had their own plans in mind. All of them were extremely vexed. If they knew about this information, they wouldn't need Aldrich's orders at all. They would run to get rid of that demon with the demon god's bloodline. After all, demons didn't have so-called loyalty. They would submit to whoever was stronger. If they got such an opportunity, their strength might increase greatly, and they could instantly become the master and demote Aldrich to their subordinates. Unfortunately, they found out about this too late. They had already left the Karloth Hell, and there was no way they could find other helpers. Moreover, facing Aldrich, who was at the ancient demon level, they couldn't resist at all. They really had no choice but to listen to Aldrich's orders. Reporting to Overlord, the burning hell seems to be just ahead. Our spaceship is about to arrive. At this moment, a demon soldier reported. Very good. Everyone, prepare for battle. We definitely can't let the Overlord of the burning hell escape. Ancient demon Aldrich was filled with killing intent. Thupin Chinese. Chapter 2554. At this moment, in the burning hell. After receiving Luna's news, Xia Ping once again came to the burning hell. Master, ancient demon Aldrich, and the others are here. Luna gently waved her hand, and suddenly, a virtual image was transmitted over. This was the information sent by her corpse beast clone. A huge black spaceship was flying over at high speed, emitting a violent demonic aura. It was unbridled and arrogant, as if nothing could stop its advance. They're fast. Xia Ping rubbed his chin, staring at the black spaceship. In fact, she had already set up an inescapable net near the burning hell. Tens of thousands of light years were within the range of the corpse beast clone's surveillance. Nothing could escape her perception. At this moment, Luna's strength had also increased by leaps and bounds, reaching the peak of the near ancient realm. She was just one step away from breaking through to the middle ancient sage realm. One could imagine how many demons and energy Luna had recently killed and how many demons she had devoured. It was also clear that corpse beasts were extremely terrifying creatures. It was no wonder that countless sages had joined hands to seal Luna. One could tell from Luna's current evolution speed. If she was given a certain period of time to grow, she would definitely become a monster that could destroy the world. Master, what should we do now? Luna blinked. There was no fear in the depths of her eyes. As a corpse beast, she did not feel fear at all. She was a monster that was difficult to kill, even more difficult to deal with than the void monsters. She only had desire and excitement for war. She would never retreat. We can't use the burning hell as the main battlefield. We can fight in the void and not give them a chance to get close to the burning hell. Let's kill ancient demon Aldrich directly. Xia Ping clenched his fists, emitting a dense murderous aura. Yes, master. Luna's pretty face revealed a trace of excitement. Let's go. Let's give Aldrich a greeting gift. Xia Ping grabbed Luna, and his figure flashed. In an instant, he traversed a great distance in the void. He did not bring any other subordinates with him. Just him and Luna were more than enough. In just a flash, Xia Ping and Luna appeared near the black spaceship. Due to the faceless mask, their auras and void fluctuations were concealed. No demons could discover their whereabouts. He looked down at the ferocious demon spaceship from above. Let's start with a show of strength. Xia Ping made a grasping motion, pulling out the hell spear. He gripped the black spear tightly and infused it with all the magic power in his body. Then he threw the spear at the spaceship. Shoo! In the blink of an eye, the hell spear turned into a black ray of light, exuding a destructive aura like a dark cloud. Like a beam of destructive divine light, it tore through the void and blasted towards the spaceship. On the black spaceship, all the demons were extremely excited, as if their blood was boiling. Kaka, it seems like there are still 20,000 light-years before we reach the burning hell. How exciting! I wonder what it feels like to fight a demon with a demon god's bloodline. Fortunately, it's still a teenager. If it were an adult, I'm afraid we wouldn't even have the qualifications to face it. If we have the chance to kill that abyss devil with the demon god's bloodline, it will be something worth bragging about even in the entire hell realm. By the way, what do we do with the rest of the demons after killing that demon lord? What else can we do? Of course, we'll kill them all. They're just trash from a low-level plane of hell. Are we going to keep them alive and waste food? What a joke. No, no, no. Let's capture them. No matter how small they are, they're still meat. If we sell them, they'll be a good fortune. Indeed. Every little bit counts. Many a little makes a mickle. The numerous evil demons discussed animatedly and laughed cruelly. Based on the speed of the spaceship, it would probably take them less than half a day to reach the burning hell. At that time, they would definitely start a massacre and show those demons from a low-level plane of hell how terrifying demons from a medium plane of hell were. The ancient demon Aldrich sat on the dragon throne with a calm expression. He was high and mighty, as if everything was under his control and he could decide the outcome of the battle. In his opinion, in order to deal with that demon, he had mobilized all the demons in his nest. Even an ancient demon like him had taken action. There was no reason for that kid to not die. Wait. All of a sudden, the ancient demon Aldrich's hair stood on end. He felt a fatal killing intent coming from afar, causing his soul to be alarmed. Quick, turn around. Turn the spaceship around. There's an enemy attack. The ancient demon Aldrich shouted angrily with a hideous expression. What? Hearing this, the other demons looked at each other. They had no idea what was going on. In the next second, a black stream of light blasted over. With just one strike, this force instantly penetrated the black spaceship from the inside out. The entire spaceship was torn apart like a watermelon, and it was completely blown up. An unlucky ancient demon standing in the middle of the spaceship was instantly penetrated by the black stream of light. His entire body was blasted away. In the end, his entire body was nailed to a floating meteorite in the distance. He didn't even have time to scream. His entire body was blasted apart, and his soul was torn apart by this force. With a loud bang, the black spaceship couldn't withstand this destructive force and exploded into pieces like fireworks. Terrifying energy erupted. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. These demons were caught off guard and were blasted away by the power of the spaceship's explosion. In the void, densely packed figures of demons immediately appeared. At this moment, they were both shocked and furious. Who is it? Who has the guts to attack the demons of the Hell of Icarus? Don't you know that we're the subordinates of the ancient demon Aldrich? How dare you attack us? Do you have a death wish? Get out here. Get out here right now. Otherwise, we'll make you beg for death. Damned bastard demons, how dare you attack us? You're tired of living. Do you know that? The demons were shocked and angry. They were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. They had been sailing smoothly in this place, but they were suddenly attacked, and some of them were killed by the explosion of the spaceship. There was even an ancient demon who was nailed to the meteor. It was a heavy loss. They hadn't even started attacking the burning hell, and they had already suffered such heavy losses. How could they accept this? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.